10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome back to It's Only Talk and Roll, the show where we celebrate the music we love and keep alive the classic rock of the past. How many times have I read that sentence out? I still have to write it down. I haven't memorized it. I can't memorize shit. I am your host, that 70s rock fan, and today, you headbangers out there, you metalheads, we're going to bring you some heavy metal thunder as we dive into the era, a favorite era of mine, a formative era, where the new breed of metal warriors emerged to banish the dreary landscape of 1970s Britain. From the hallowed halls of Birmingham to the smoky clubs of London, they forged a sound that was louder, faster, and more electrifying than anything that had come before. And this was the new wave of British heavy metal, which was a seismic shift in the musical landscape. And it birthed a lot of bands that are legends, but also inspired many others. And tonight we're going to go through those thundering riffs and solos and all the stuff that defined that era. We're going to explore the rise of titans like Iron Maiden, Saxon. We're going to look at the Diamond Heads and the Venoms and the others. And we're going to let the metal flow. So welcome, everybody, to the show. Another copyright strike-inducing show, I would suggest, because I've got a lot of clips. Unfortunately, it's going to be after the show. But if you're watching on Rumble, and I can see Joe and I can see Vince Womack over there, you won't get cut off, and you will also. That will also be the unadulterated version of the show after YouTube forces me to butcher the YouTube version. So before we do anything else, I'd love to say hello to the chat. There is a poll in the chat. I could only put 4 bands in it, unfortunately. So which of these new wave of British heavy metal bands has left the most enduring legacy, and you have 4 choices: Def Leppard, Venom, Iron Maiden, and Saxon. I know who I favour. Let's see who you do. So on today's in the chat today, we have a lot of wonderful people. We have the wonderful David Glenn. We have Brian. That is Brian. And he's Brian, and so is his wife. So welcome, Brian. Great name, Brian. Fantastic name.
You're not biased at all.
No, I'm not biased.
No,
we have the great Lord Thothy. We have it's Courtney, who will be joining us shortly to give her perspective.
As usual, always in the car.
Indeed, always in the car. The great D-Bud Martin, Wrench of Wrenches, our great friend and supporter on here. Good to see you, D-Bud. Thanks for being here, mate. We have 11 Alpha is here, talking about Amon Amarth and Saxon. Great stuff. Saxons and Vikings, brilliant stuff. We have Tree Goblin HD. Good to see you.
What a name.
What a name. I love the name. Christian, our great buddy Christian from Vinyl Revival. Good to see you, my friend.
Yes.
If I miss anyone, forgive me. We will get you later. Vince Womack, of course, is here. Sumo Orange, and many others. I'm hoping will join us. Thank you all for being here once again. And obviously that great intro, Def Leppard intro. Gunther Grieben, Glatschen Globen. Which I'm not quite sure what it means, but it sounded good. Vince, Sumo, many others. Massgrave is here. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you all for being here. So, but as for the panel, who do we have? My regular friends are here. I hope they are regular, because that's the best way to live. So
when the avatar shoots up and you disappear for about 5 minutes, you know what happened.
That's right, yeah. So good afternoon, first of all, to Pope Metallicus the First. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Really happy to be talking about this. I mean, you and I have been talking about doing this episode for a long time, and this is my favorite stuff out of all of it, pretty much. Although I would like to say a quick rest in peace to Bernard Hill. Sadly,
yes, R.I.P. Bernard. I remember him from initially from a show in the UK called The Black Stuff, and then The Boys from the Black Stuff, which were 2 really great television shows in Britain in the early 80s. And then he did a bunch of other British stuff, but obviously legend for Lord of the Rings and many other things, of course. Him and David Warner were the only good things in Titanic.
I was fixing to say he was the captain of the Titanic, wasn't he?
pretty much that. David Warner and the special effects were the only thing.
Went down with the ship. What's that guy's name that played the Phantom that was in that, played the bad guy in it? He was good.
Billy Zane?
Billy Zane, that's
Billy
it.
Zane, yeah. And David Warner was working from
Billy Zane is super underrated. I dig Billy Zane.
Yeah.
I think he's awesome.
Papa Cotton's here too. Good to see you. But thanks for being here, Pope. Yeah. Today, like all these shows, we've bitten off far more than we can chew. So this might end up being like a part 1, and then we'll revisit.
Right.
I've never done
a lot of stuff.
Because there's a lot of stuff. I mean, but we'll get to that in a minute. But also here with us, of course, is our wonderful friend, our good friend Joe from Joe's Atmosphere. How are you, sir?
Doing fantastic, man. Had that meet up with Christian last week. It went great down in New Orleans, right in the middle of Jazz Fest. There was an artist set up. Okay, if you've never been down there, there's a place called Jackson Square that's almost right on the border.
I've been there.
The St. Louis Cathedral's right at the head of it. And all the artists, there's a black wrought iron gate around Jackson Square, and all the artists hang their stuff on it for sale. And one of them had a sign there. This is how expensive it was to see the Stones. It said, "We'll trade art for Jazz Fest tickets."
Yeah,
that's what his sign said.
Probably about $300, I would think, for a ticket.
It was more like around $7.
Was it? Jesus Christ!
Mm-hmm.
Wow, yep. They should be paying me to go see them,
right? Oh man.
Anyway, yeah, I saw the videos that you posted and the pictures of you and Christian. It was great to see you guys together. Obviously, we'll all try and do it at some point.
Yeah. Are you coming to Dallas this year?
I'm still planning to.
Okay, good.
I haven't booked anything yet, but I'm still planning to. My passport is. I'm waiting for my new passport.
Okay, gotcha. That's a thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was a shame you took your wives with you because you two looked like a lovely couple.
I'm not going to comment on that. He's bigger than me, so of course
he's a big guy. I didn't
realize
what big a guy Christian was.
He's a big fella. Yeah. We're about the same height. He might have an inch on me, but man,
that's what he said.
As big as two hands.
So, he's not got an inch in you, then you're okay. Christian is an awesome chap. He is.
Yes, he is.
Also with us, of course, is our dear friend and the man known as the sunniest disposition on YouTube, Imperatus.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Good to see you, mate.
How you doing, bud?
I'm all right. I'm glad you're here because there's definitely a couple of things I want you to chime in on.
Absolutely.
Some significant origins for the whole black metal scene.
Just metal in general, not just black metal.
Well, true. So very looking forward to what you got to say about that influence and how it joined, how things progressed after this movement, as it were. So I'm going to lay a few ground rules though, because I really want to focus on the British stuff. It is the new wave of British heavy metal. The influence, we can talk about anything, but the bands will be the British ones in that scene. I have made a conscious decision that we'll minimize the Motorhead and Priest talk because we've done a lot of shows on those guys.
Yes, you have.
Yes, and I see them known as the godfathers of this whole thing. They were established before it kicked off. Even Lemmy himself said, "We're not really part of that. We're proud to be associated with these bands," and they toured with a lot of them, but they saw themselves as just being a little too old and a little before them. So we will talk about them, but not going to overemphasize them. I want to talk about the big guys that came out of this, and then some of the influential bands that maybe get a little less coverage. I also have a list of my 10 favorite tracks, or 10 of my favorite tracks. So we're going to talk about that, and obviously all the impact stuff that comes when we talk about these bands. So Sumo's leaving. We're going to mention Priest and Motorhead. We've done 2 whole shows on them, so we're not going to over.
Look, if you don't at least mention them, Pope's going to leave. So don't do that.
That's true.
I'm going to leave, but I will complain the whole time.
You will. So really, we're looking at, for me, it's the bands, and I want to focus on the era, roughly speaking, between like 78 and 83. And all the bands. Now it does have Motorhead on there, of course, so immediately I've been contradicted by reality. I'd forgotten about half of these bands till I started researching, although I vaguely remembered them from the day back in the day. Some of them had like 1 or 2 singles or just 1 album because it was a very DIY movement and not all of them made it, but it was also a great club movement, so you got a chance to see a lot of these bands in the clubs. There's some famous logos on there and some slightly less famous, but we're going to talk about a lot of these guys as we go. But I did want to set the scene by talking about the sort of UK in the late 70s in the music scene. Punk was obviously huge, or becoming huge, 77 onwards. And it's funny because a lot of these guys used the punk DIY ethos starting their bands, so like playing the clubs, making cassettes, self-recording singles on independent labels, flyers, printing their own t-shirts, cassettes, and all that stuff. So the metal bands adopted the punk ethos, a lot of these guys, and it became quite successful for them then.
That's carried on even to the modern era of metal, really.
Yeah,
if you start digging into the underground, everything's DIY for the most part.
Yeah, and everybody thinks that's a punk thing, and yeah, they did it, but the metal bands were doing it too, and quite successfully. It worked for them. Also, disco was huge, of course. So we have a picture here of me back in 1977. That red dress really didn't fit me. ABBA, of course, and all pop stuff was very popular, but also from the rock side, you had prog and whatever. So metal, there was still a lot of rock and metal, but it wasn't like the biggest thing by then. It kind of The early guys, like the Sabbath, were kind of declining a bit and in turmoil. Ozzy was on his last legs in that band. Because these are the guys that are the bands we're talking about today grew up idolizing and were influenced by. Deep Purple were about to kind of split, and already you had Whitesnake and Rainbow spun off from them. Even Zeppelin had, because of personal tragedies and so on, were kind of a little quieter in this era, 77, 78.
Robert Plant had really gone solo at that point, hadn't he?
Well, his son, he had that problem. His son died, and then they kind of canceled a lot of tours.
When did he do the Honey Drippers? When did
that was that was more in the 80s.
More in the 80s.
They weren't gone, but even if you could see them, they were like this big remote thing.
Yeah,
you weren't seeing them in clubs or anything. So I do like this picture of them, though. I like the hat that Jimmy Page is wearing. Anyway, but yeah, you had early Maiden, of course. So let's talk about Maiden. Shall we talk about Maiden? Shall we begin that way? I tell you what, we had some influences though. It wasn't just the big bands. There were what I would call kind of the godfathers of the whole movement. Budgie were still around. Pretty heavy band if you've ever heard them. Priest, of course, who were successful and going to be more successful, but the whole new wave of British heavy metal gave them a boost, I think, because it boosted metal back into the charts, as it were.
Yeah, they were in this weird place where they predate the new wave, but they were sort of the standard bearer for it.
Yeah, exactly. I think they were probably the flagship, the godfathers, I would call them. And they
I didn't know they got the Jedi look from the guy on the right there.
Yes.
Pretty wild.
It's a Jedi look, isn't it? So Priest were huge. Priest were huge for these guys and a huge component of the British scene. And you could still see them touring British, theaters. It wasn't arenas or anything. Obviously, Motorhead were like also the godfathers of the whole thing. But why wouldn't they be? I've had some interesting Lemmy clips to play when he's talking about various bands in the new wave of British heavy metal.
Not to mention, most of these guys opened for Motorhead at least one tour.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so they were big helpers and sponsors, and also, again, benefited from the general increase in metal fandom because of the whole movement, Nazareth still were a pretty big band at that time, hard rock band that a lot of these bands liked. Rainbow, obviously. You saw, of course, with Dio joining Sabbath, that broke on the wave of new wave of British heavy metal too. So it caused this resurgence. Status Quo, Boogie, hard rock boogie band. A lot of the bands. All of them emulated some style or other of the established guys, but took it further, And then Thin Lizzy. I'm cheating a bit because they're Irish. I'd
also they're English. I'd also include Uriah Heep on that list because they've been around the whole time.
Heep as well, absolutely.
It's all right to mention Irish bands.
UFO again. They've been around for a long time, but they got a whole boost out of this new wave of British heavy metal and became huge at the same time. So they were on that circuit as well with those guys, even though they'd been around since the late 60s. So you got a bunch of bands that were, and AC/DC, of course, were enormously influential to these guys. Let me just throw something back up on the screen. There we go. So anyway, what you had was a movement that shared a lot of common with the punk scene. Self-recorded, self-promoted singles, cassettes, even like LPs like Lightning to the Nations by Diamond Head. 1,000 copies, recorded themselves, signed the cover, posted them to people, sold them at gigs, gave them to DJs, all that kind of stuff. It was a very DIY scene. That's a great thing, It was one of these movements that took it away from the record companies. and it became something they didn't control. Now they all moved in after, of course. The music environment in Britain in the 70s, we talked about a lot of the hard rock and heavy bands were either disintegrating or weren't big commercial successes. But there was along came. Well, we'll start with the big ones. So Iron Maiden, whatever we think of them today, and I'm not against them. I just, I think that in this era they were incredible. So formed in East London in 1975 by Steve Harris. There's a great documentary on their website, 3-part documentary about them. It's really good. It does a lot of detail about the early days with all the different members. Dave Murray has also been on every album. And really they got their start with a four-track demo on cassette. They recorded in 1978. And they gave it to, you can see the songs are on there, Prowler, Iron Maiden. They gave that to a guy, and he's a second guy from the right called Neil Kay. Neil Kay was a DJ, and he had a club in London called the Bandwagon Heavy Metal Soundhouse. It was a heavy metal club. Can't call it disco, can you? And that was what he played. It was all metal, and he had some radio work going on too. A very influential guy. They gave that to him. A lot of these bands went to this guy and said, "Can you play this?" And he got them in contact with record companies, whatever, and they went to him. And also, there he is on top of the, because they had the noise was so loud in the bandwagon that the mixing desk was floating, so that it didn't get the vibrations. So all these bands played there. It was just this place that the bands played. He also ran club nights where he played records, because this stuff wasn't getting radio play. You wouldn't. There was a couple of guys helped with that, but they weren't getting a lot of radio play. And Iron Maiden were a big part of that scene because they were from London too. I love this picture. Paul Di'Anno, when he joined, made a big difference as a vocalist. So that's an era that I absolutely love of Maiden.
Yeah, because the first couple of years, their vocalist kind of fluctuated depending on Steve Harris's mood.
That's right, yeah. Very much so. And Steve Harris has been the mainstay and architect all the way through this, of course. But they had a bit of a punk ethos as well, Maiden, at that time. It was quite a harder-edged punky sound. The first album, of course.
The first sighting of Eddie.
Indeed. So Neil Kay was a huge component of that. And I think a lot of people now that Maiden are this big sort of arena thing, they not so many people are familiar with the first two albums.
No, not really. I was fixing to say, we didn't really get wind of them here until Run of the Hills came out. I don't know what album that's on.
Well, but from the third album.
Yeah.
And that was the first one with Bruce Dickinson, who was also on the scene, of course, with Samson, the band Samson. I saw Samson live a couple of times in the day with Bruce Dickinson. Pretty heavy band. They were in the opening montage singing Earth Mother. But a big factor in the success of Maiden, or at least getting attention, and was this album called Metal for Mothers, which I had on. Well, I taped it off somebody because I couldn't.
Great title.
Yeah, and there was a second one. This became quite the hit, and it had early stuff from a lot of these bands on it, including Iron Maiden. And this basically publicized it, and then they did a tour with certain bands like Maiden to promote this stuff. So this kind of broke the whole thing. Maiden were a huge component of breaking that, and this Metal for Mothers is an album which it holds a special place in many people's hearts. But Maiden were on it, and they had Rothschild, I think, is the track. I may even have a little clip of that.
Yeah, I'm a Rothschild. I come in to get you. Oh, yeah, yeah.
got to just play a little bit of that, unfortunately, because of copyright. So that was on this. That was on this album. I did have a picture of the cover of that album too. I don't know what happened to it. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Metal from Others. So this is what it looked like.
I dig it. I dig it a lot.
That's pretty cool.
It's great. Yeah.
That's almost like a a Catholic metropolis looking thing.
Yeah, it was just
mixed together, man. It's pretty wild looking.
It
yeah,
was the metal steed with the guitar instead of the lance, and it was Neil Kay who really put it together. So you had Maiden were on it. You had with Sanctuary. You had I'm not so familiar. I mean, I know these tracks, but I'm not sure what happened to Sledgehammer or EF Band. But Toad the Wet Sprocket were quite big in the club circuit. Praying Mantis, Wrathchild's on there. Baphomet by Angel Witch. Very good track. Very good band. Ethel the Frog, of course, from the Monty Python sketch. And then a band called Nuts, who I don't recall much either, other than this track, you know. And they had a volume 2, which also got a lot of attention, a lot of airplay, and it really broke some of these bands. Second album was a bit more bands didn't make it after, and there was a lot of that with this, which was bands that were one and done with singles, or maybe maybe didn't make it beyond the first couple of singles or an EP or whatever. But it was that kind of scene, you know. So to go back to Maiden, where were we? Oh yeah, so we did Neil Kay, but we had Maiden. So Maiden, on the strength of the Metal from Others, managed to get a deal. Did the debut album in 1980. Just called Iron Maiden, with the first appearance of Eddie, and Running Free, of course, is on that, which we saw in the opening montage, which became a bit of a hit single. They got TV coverage in the UK. I'm not sure people even know those tracks, a lot of people, but Paul Di'Anio is the vocalist. Excellent stuff. Phantom of the Opera is on this album, which is a brilliant track. Iron Maiden.
Prowler and Charlotte the Harlot, two ones that would go deep into their lineup.
Oh yeah, these are the deep ones now. But yeah, it says even at the bottom, thanks to Neil and Neil Kay and all that, those guys at the Bandwagon. So, and at this point, they're playing clubs, not even theaters. They're still a pretty sort of sweaty, punky DIY band. And Mr. Nick Visor is here.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
How's it going?
It's going good. It's great to have you here, my friend.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Sorry that this time of the day is usually a struggle for me, but I'm like, I got to at least squeeze in some time for something like this. So, and I see Joe's here too. And I see we got, what's up, Joe? I think I see our usual suspects as well, Pope and Imperatus.
They are here.
What's going on, brother?
Yeah. What's up, guys? Nice to see y'all.
Yeah. Good to see you, mate. And we're actually, we talked a little bit about the origins of new wave of British heavy metal, and then we're talking about some of the top bands that have came out of it. Iron Maiden being first of the list. The first album, I mean, how familiar are you with the first couple of albums, the Paul Di'Anio vocal ones, not the Dickinson ones? You know?
Oh, I love the Di'Anio stuff. I think it's excellent. I love them both, but if I had to choose between the two, I'd probably say the self-titled one, but that doesn't mean Killer's not a great album. I mean, Killer's is still absolutely awesome on its own merits. It's just, maybe it's just because I discovered the first one first. That's the runaway for me.
Yeah.
But love them both.
Oh, me too. And this is my era. I loved these albums, and it was actually a bit of a shocker when Dickinson joined, because he was known for being in Samson. I think there's a lot of bad blood between those two bands because of that. But,
you know it.
A lot of bad blood. But and you even see from the picture on the back cover, this is not the band that we now see playing Vegas and doing arenas and working with Mariah Carey or whoever the fuck they. This was a really sweaty, stripped down band playing aggressive, loud, fast rock music.
Yeah. The Running Free single art. This is such killer artwork. Once again, Derek Riggs with another piece of masterwork.
Oh, great. I loved the artwork. Absolutely. Single at the time. They were on top of the pop. And people went, what is this? Because the normies were not used to hearing hard rock metal on top of the pops. You know, it was like a hit single. So just opened a lot of eyes.
When we first heard them, me and my brother, we called them mailed-in music because it sounded like every member of the band recorded something on each corner of the globe and then mailed it all in and trying to outdo each other, man. It was just so in your face, you know.
I think that's what they're like now. It
Yeah.
takes them 8 months to make one track.
Right.
Then it was like in and out, you know. I mean, they were Martin Birch came on, but I love the first album. Second album, Martin Birch came on as producer.
Yes.
So changed the sound a little bit. Birch, of course, famous for Purple and Rainbow and Whitesnake and tons of other bands.
This is probably the more iconic of the two covers, even though I prefer the first one. This cover definitely, like, you'll see like the album shirt, you'll see it around more. Like,
this is the one I have
by a landslide. If we're gonna be fair and objective here, this cover is definitely the more memorable one.
Kick-ass cover. Kick-ass.
It's killer, yeah, right? No, for good reason. It's killer. Like,
killer.
how do you say no to that?
I know, and it's got the great Rothschild on it, Murders in the Rue Morgue, Genghis Khan, all great tracks. Killers itself.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the title track is killer. Like, seriously, like it's so good.
And I wish someone would, play this for Modern Maiden, because if you look at it, not a single one of these songs is over 7 minutes.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know.
Hell, I mean, even the first three are almost just under 7 minutes together. You know.
Yeah. I feel like they had a good medium when they were doing like the Power Slave Somewhere in Time, but then they started to really push it later on. It's just like, bro, guys, I'll cool with the long songs, but now it's getting like, now every song starts off with the slow intro for 2 to 3 minutes. Now it's almost every song. I wish I wasn't being literal, but it's almost literal.
Yeah, they're going with Dream Theater track lengths now, and pretty much it happened somewhere after Brave New World.
Yeah, I think Brave New World is where I kind of drew the line, which I actually like Brave New World. I thought that was
also the album I got into them on.
Oh, hey, that's a good one. That was the last one with Derek Riggs on the art too, before they had their falling out.
So there's the Metal for Mothers tour, one of the gigs. Lots of different bands played, but Iron Maiden head.
Diamond Head. Oh, man, look at that. Good old Diamond Head. And their guitarist is now in Saxon.
That's right. Yeah.
Tatler. And he shreds. Yeah, Brian Tatler. He is killing it. You could tell the difference from Carpe Diem to Hellfire and Damnation, adding him on.
Yeah. So Maiden really were. They did the Killers was a world tour. I mean, they hit it hard, and they were changing, and they were progressing and changing. And Diano couldn't quite handle some of the pressure, so he left, and they stole Bruce Dickinson from Samson, which has caused endless trouble ever since. And hatred, but it actually did. I love Diano, but it did make a difference, and it changed them into something else then. And then they had, of course, in '82, the Number of the Beast.
Yeah, that's the first one I got,
which broke huge internationally.
So, funny story. So there's this really iconic venue in the South Side of Chicago that's thankfully still going strong to this day. And Paul Di'Anno was doing a solo set there, and luckily, if it's like one-off or like a 3-stop tour, like limited dates from an international act, Reggie's, that's what it's called, Reggie's Rock Club in Chicago, they'll go pick up the artist from the airport. And one of my buddies who was working at Reggie's at the time got to pick up Paul Di'Anno from O'Hare Airport in the city. And right before he had left to go pick him up from the Reggie shuttle, he was given a piece of paper of questions to not ask Paul Di'Anno.
All right.
And he wrote all the rules on all of that.
That's right. I would. I would.
And he said that, he said Paul actually was really cool about all the questions. He didn't be like, oh, man, how dare you ask these questions? he said he said he hesitated the first one, but once he said that Paul gave him like a really thorough answer on the first question, he felt like, well, okay. I felt like it was like the gloves were off moment. He didn't give like a quick, like really like I guess you could say like a harsh one word answer. Like this is your hint to stop asking more questions beyond this. He said he kept answering them very thoroughly. I was like, well, that's not what I expected to hear, but I'm happy his experience with picking them up was awesome.
Yeah, I'd ask all the questions too.
Yeah, right.
Come on, what are you going to do? You know?
Like, this is your one chance.
Yeah. So this, much as I love the first two albums, this album also is a monster album, rightly celebrated today. And you saw things like "Run to the Hills" becoming like a top 5 hit single in the UK, which for a metal song was unheard of. And this was a #1 album. And it just everything about it is great.
And a funny story with 22 Acacia Avenue. A buddy of mine actually moved to a new place with his family, and he sent me a picture of the address.
No,
22 Acacia
what?
Nice.
Oh,
that's amazing.
11 Alpha is asking the pertinent questions. They may well have, you know. They might not have been able to pronounce it, but they may have been able to play it. So Maiden were rightly at this time were by far the most successful new wave of British heavy metal band to come out of that whole thing, and they supported a lot of other bands. Other bands supported them. It was a very interconnected scene, you know. But "Run to the Hills" is everyone knows it, but it still has a lot of power as a song, and we'll see just a little bit of that here. What's not to like?
I was gonna say, don't let Iron
to
Maiden themselves hit you with a copyright strike.
Yeah.
Do they straight up do? Not to know. It's not like I'm dissing on the band, but just beware that they absolutely do.
This stream is going to be decimated.
Yeah, right. Be ready to switch to Rumble, folks.
Except for over on the Rumble side will remain forever the pristine one.
Now is a good time as ever to transition.
Yeah. Oh, I do everything on Rumble too. So this is going out in Rumble right now as well.
Good.
Yeah, I've been doing that for a long time. And if I have to trim this one, the Rumble ones remains untrimmed. There's no snip.
That sounds spicy.
It does. So I just want to remind all the newcomers to the chat that there is a poll going about the most enduring legacy of NWOBHM bands. So
how are we defining enduring? I gotta ask you, because obviously if we're talking about popular band, it's gonna be like Iron Maiden.
So I left that pretty open to interpretation.
If you're talking about number of hits, it's going to be Def Leppard.
I never said that. I just said who's got the most enduring legacy.
So
it's all subjective. Vote for your favorite band, in other words.
Def Leppard isn't heavy metal.
Hey, John.
The first album is On Through the Night is a cool album. You can have a debate on all the other later albums, but On Through the Night, that first album, is a great metal album.
Well, it's funny you should mention Def Leppard because they were up next, and I didn't want to go past 82's Number of the Beast.
Fine. Yeah, that's a smart move.
But I think we can all agree that whatever Maiden and they've done some great stuff since. In those days, the first 3 albums, fucking phenomenal in my opinion.
Yep,
they were the real deal.
I urge anyone who only has heard Def Leppard because of hits to listen to On Through the Night.
On Through the Night is badass.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It doesn't get covered at all when they play live. If you're lucky, keywords, if you're lucky, they may play one song from it.
We may have a clip, but we'll come to that in a minute.
All right.
And in fact, we also...
That's a good album to change your mind to. I'll set up now.
And we opened with Rock Brigade in the montage. So Rock Brigade was in there. So yeah, but Leppard. No, you don't have to shut up, Nick. Just you don't have to shut up. But Leppard, Rick Savage, in '78. He'd been in earlier bands, but he coalesced with Pete Willis, Joe Elliott, Steve Clark, and Rick Allen, what I'd call a classic lineup. Hailed from Sheffield in Yorkshire, which you always hear when you hear them talking. They're from Yorkshire. They embraced it, and they were like 16 or something. They embraced the DIY ethic, self-produced this EP, like recorded it themselves, handed it out at gigs, sold it at gigs. The Def Leppard EP, drew the art themselves using that punk ethic. It was the label was Bludgeon Rifola Records.
Wow, what
a fucking name they gave their label. What a name. It's classic. And they gave it to an interesting guy. They gave it to John Peel, British BBC DJ, who was famous at the time for being promoting punk bands. It was all punk and new wave.
Probably the UK scene.
They handed it to him at a club gig he was doing. He played it to death. He loved it. And it had like "Get Your Rocks Off" and stuff on it, and he actually gave them enough attention to make it a minor hit single. And then Jeff Barton's at Sounds magazine, who promoted a lot of these metal bands, gave them a big article in it, and this just blew the doors off for them because they got a major label deal in '79 with Vertigo. So Sounds was always promoting these bands. I bought it every week, one of these newspaper style music things. I bought it every week, and they were great with the new wave of metal bands. They promoted them hard. And then, of course, they got the Vertigo deal, and On Through the Night.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you think Def Leppard are the Mariah Carey Vegas band, or whatever, Taylor Swift, or whatever the hell they do now, this is Def Leppard.
This is as I tell people, it's my Def Leppard.
Yeah, as I've said several times, man, you get into these bands and start checking out their catalogs. When you first heard them commercially, the stuff before that is so much better, man. It really is.
Look at that great cover. The truck with the guitar on the back of it. It's just so good. And they have the nice logo. And the track, Rock Brigade, Hello America, Wasted, Rocks Off, brilliant tracks. I want to play a little bit of
Do It.
I want to play a little bit of Wasted.
Wasted! Wasting my time! Wasted! Shooting a line! Wasted! Out of my brain! Wasted! Going insane!
So punky,
completely different band.
Yeah, does not sound like the top pop guys that
raw,
they became.
punky, raw. It's very raw. It's great. I love it.
That's not that bubblegum hair metal they try
No,
to
it's
play.
not.
That's
No,
right.
it's not.
That's why they were seen as a proper band at the time. They actually always claimed they were never part of the new wave of British heavy metal.
Yeah, that is true. I
think they protest too much.
I agree. I don't get why they disavowed from it, because the album is right in line with that scene, and it was really good. Like it's not. It'd be one thing if like they had made this album bad and they disavowed it, then it could be easy. But like, well, you guys kind of suck anyway. But was it? No, it wasn't like that at all. It was good.
And they were in all the clubs with the other bands, and they were doing the DIY singles and whatever. They were a big part of it. And that album is great. If you've never heard it, anybody out there, go get it. It's a brilliant album. Not what you'd expect at all.
So even if you're not a Def Leppard fan, and I fully understand that, this is not the Def Leppard you've heard.
It's not.
No.
It's not.
This is not your father's Def Leppard.
No.
Actually, it is your father's Def Leppard.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, pretty much.
Obviously, things started to change. At this point, they were still mostly harmless. Sorry, I had to get that in there. Sorry.
It's all good, man.
So Robert John Mutt Lang came on board, of course. Mutt Lang,
of course,
worked with a whole bunch of top bands. I mean, we don't need to go over his career. Huge producer for many bands, AC/DC, other bands like that.
He was the star maker in the music business at the time. He was.
And they did their second album, High and Dry.
Yeah. I think my favorite song by him is on that. Isn't Bringing on the Heartbreak on that
Bringing
one?
on the Heartbreak.
Yeah,
so this
love
is
that
when
one.
they did then at this point make a play for America by changing the sound and making MTV videos.
Yep, me and my brother used to wait for him on the Heavy Metal Half Hour all the time, man. Yep.
So Bringing on the Heartbreak, which was an MTV video hit. Now they got a lot of blowback in Britain for this, and their guy that had supported them, Jeff Barton in Sounds, wrote an article saying, "Well, have they sold out to America?" So when they came back after an American tour to play at Reading, they got bottled off the stage. It was so bad, the blowback.
Man,
they were like, "Whoa!"
So they got slayered off the stage before Slayer was a thing.
Yes, exactly. They got slayered off the
Bummer.
stage. But I do want to play a little clip from this, which is High and Dry, Saturday Night, which is actually is a kick-ass song. Can only play a little bit, obviously, but it starts to show the evolution of their sound a bit smoother, but it still has a really good rock beat to it, you know?
Yeah.
I do love that one. I did want to...
Speaking of the beat, hang on, before we go any further with this band, you got to give it to them. They stuck with their drummer after, what was it, a car wreck? He lost his arm, and they actually used innovation and came up with an electronic drum set for him, and it defined their sound when they became commercial. Really.
Whatever we would say about them as a musician, as a musical act now, as people, phenomenal people. They stood by their buddy and they changed their band to allow the innovation that he uses and the sound that he had to do then. And he's still there today. And as a lot of people say, you don't even know it when you're watching them live. You don't even realize it. It's quite touching, actually, because there's a BBC documentary that was made about them a few years ago.
It was a car wreck, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was a really bad car wreck.
He goes back to the place of the car wreck and he breaks down in tears and it was terrible. But fair play to him and the band. I'll give them 100% kudos for that. The Yorkshire lads.
That had to be a life-changing moment for him, too, sitting there in the hospital room thinking, I've just lost my career, too. Like, my life is over.
Well, he was actually said, I was lying on the ground in the car wreck thinking, there's my arm. I'll never drum again.
Yeah.
And they sewed it. They tried to put it back on, but it didn't take, you know. But yeah, hey, they persevered, and fair play to them. Absolutely. I'll give them a huge kudos for that.
Even though they sold out, they stuck with their bro. No doubt.
They did. I'll give them that. They know the distinction of bros before hoes, so I will give them that. For
and
what
there's
it's worth,
there's the sellout album right
and
there.
There's where they went full
Yeah.
soft rock, whatever you would want to call it. Pyromania, massive global hit in '83. Photograph, Rock of Ages. Still better than some of the stuff that came later, I think. But
undoubtedly,
Photograph's a great record. I mean, it's not metal per se, but it's a nice song. So Leppard, they came out of it though, and they were a big act. I just want to say thank you to Christian for keeping the lights on here, because these streams are never monetized, never will be. $5 from Christian Delorme's Vinyl Revival. Thanks, buddy. No message, but thank you for that. In which case, I have to play you a clip. This is one that's related to what we're talking about today. It's Graham Oliver of Saxon deciding he doesn't like his guitar anymore.
Most guys use the neck of it to swing it around. He's a little different.
Oh, he was way beyond that. So he was having a night.
I saw Def Leppard live in 2013. They are doing a co-headline with Kiss, and I can truly say I thought they were actually way better than Kiss, and they didn't have like a fancy bells and whistles stage set. It was pretty much just them and the music, and Kiss had the whole spiel. And it was cool, but I just thought Def Leppard sounded better, even though it was not my Def Leppard. It was still a good show.
Oh, I actually like them a lot of what they are and what they do, and I do love Pyromania is a great album, and I'm not a hardcore, it has to be metal guy. I've got everything, and I do like some of the tracks. I just they did change an awful lot.
It's funny you mentioned the lineup. Before I wanted to mention when I saw Maiden, the lineup I saw him in was bizarre, man. Aldo Nova opened, then it was Maiden, and it was 38 Special as the headliner. Talk about 3 different genres of freaking music.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous, man.
Yeah, I can't fault them for looking for success. I mean, it's a lot of the other bands fell by the wayside because they were broke.
Right.
It's a dangerous business, and they had a vision, and they were good enough to do it. So we'll move on to number 3 of what I call the big 3 of the new wave of British heavy metal. Because I said,
to my mind, hands down, the best band in this genre.
I look forward to this. It's gonna be good.
I can't disagree with you. Can't disagree with you. Saxon, also from Yorkshire, though, from Barnsley, originally called Son of a Bitch. That's a great name.
That is a fan-freaking-tastic name.
I think it was something to do with Nazareth. But, D-Bud Martin, our great range, $5 from D-Bud Martin. Super chat. Thank you, buddy. Woo! For being demonetized for the Dallas Stars and for heavy metal.
Yeah.
For Gordon Country and all those things. Thanks, my friend. You too have to get a clip of some kind. What can we do that was as good as that one? Oh, let's do this one.
Ooh.
Rules. We're contractually obligated to give me Whiplash at least once an episode. So
there it is.
Question: would Dio in Black Sabbath have been as big or not as big if there hadn't been a new wave of British heavy metal to lift the whole metal thing back up? I don't know.
Hard to say. It really is hard to say. I mean, I don't know. That's the thing with those things. You can never really predict them. They just kind of happen or they don't.
Yeah, I think Dio and the boys would have stood on their own merits even without a genre to support them, but I can't really prove that.
We can't, but I think it didn't hurt, and I think it was metal had been still popular in Britain. This gave it a whole new boost back into the charts, if you know what I mean. Like albums were selling again, and of course the huge influence we're going to talk about on the Bay Area stuff that was going on from all the British stuff, and in Europe too. Dio and Sabbath would have been bigger if it wasn't for the hack known as Ozzy and the Devil's Wife Sharon.
You ain't wrong.
Sumo's going to see Saxon on Friday. I envy you, my friend. I'm waiting for West Coast gigs. I want to go. I gotta go. Seen them once. Wheels of Steel tour.
Nice.
I want to see them again. I can't wait. It's funny. I only ever managed to see them once all these years.
That's crazy. I feel like you of all people will have seen them at least a few times. I saw them in 2018 when they were on. They are the opener for Priest's tour for Firepower, but they for some reason that tour did not hit Chicago. So Saxon added in an off date from the tour where they came to Chicago, and they once again Reggie's gonna be brought up again. They play a show at Reggie's. And I was blown away. They did somewhere between 20 and 25 songs. I can't remember the exact number. So I'm estimating.
I've been watching the YouTube videos of them.
But, dude, they blew me away. I was just like floored how great they sounded.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're the band with the most enduring legacy, but that's just me. Sorry, John, you were going to say something.
Saxon and Uriah Heep are actually going to be about 2 hours from me on the 24th.
Yeah, they're doing that tour now. The co-headline, they're flip-flopping each night. Nice. They're coming to my area in a week, and I'm like, I want to go. I just got to see at the time. Sorry, in 3 weeks, thankfully. I want to go. I just got to see where I am closer to the date.
So, yeah, I'm dying to get to that, but because it might, you never know. Every time could be the last time.
Mm-hmm.
But from Barnsley, I still think they're one of the most successful and beloved bands from the new wave of British heavy metal, and still producing high quality material today.
Mm-hmm.
The albums today are great that they make. So, That's why I think they've got the most enduring legacy, even if they didn't make the same commercial success as the others.
In that regard, I would agree because they've been the I'd say probably the most consistent because the fact that they are putting out new albums and that people are liking them, like young generations and old, and they're actually playing those songs and they're going over in a live setting, and not just that people like them, but they still sound great live. Like that's a big thing, and the fact that there are 24 studio albums of original material, 24. Yes. That's freaking nuts.
I know.
And the fact that they are still at, like, they don't have to make a good album anymore. They could honestly rest on their laurels and it would be cool, but they're still like acting like a band that has something to prove, even though they don't.
Yeah.
And I'd say that attitude has a big part to do with why they don't have a thing to prove at this point, is because they're that driven and because they love doing this that much.
Mm-hmm.
That, I mean, let's face it, you don't do anything for 40 years without being really into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the first album, 1978, I think. No, 79, because they changed the name to Saxon in 78, and they signed with Carrera, because Carrera Records said, I don't think we can sell a band called Son of a Bitch. Cowards. But Carrera is a funny choice because it was a French disco label. So make of that what you will. They had disco stuff.
They saw writing on the wall.
They did, I think. And then and the first album was great. In fact, and they toured with, I'll go back a bit, they toured with Motorhead in that era in 79. And Lemmy, well, first of all, I've got a clip of them playing, a very rare clip, which somebody very nicely posted on YouTube of them playing live on that tour. I think it was the Bomber tour. Here's Saxon doing Motorcycle. Nice stuff.
And a kind of unknown fact is, I believe when Motorhead recorded their, legendary live album, No Sleep Till Hammersmith, these guys were the opener.
It could be. Yeah, I think you might be right there. Well, but let's talk about that because Lemmy had something to say about Saxon and their habits on tour. I think he was quite disgusted. I love that. A tea urn in the dressing room. Yeah, but Lemmy was horrified at their habits. Great stuff.
That is so. I did not know that. That is hilarious. That's too good.
Yeah. So then came, though, a huge run of killer albums. I mean, they just started nailing it. And for me, this is my special place in my heart, this album.
Great album. It's so catchy. It's very infectious. Like, seriously. I remember when I first heard Motorcycle Mad. Oh, man. That was like,
oh, God,
what is this?
Every track on there, Motorcycle Man, Stand Up Be Carried, 747, which is a very melodic song. It's a beautiful song. Wheels of Steel, that riff still gives me.
That title alone is just screams badass.
It gives me chills when I hear that riff. Wheels of Steel, no matter how many times I've heard it. Street Fighting Gang, Susie Hold On, great track. Machine Gun, just a kick-ass album, really good album. Well played to them.
And it says something too about the quality of their musicianship and their skills. Simply because they can turn around and do a duet type song with a death metal band and it works.
Oh yeah, Johan from Amon Amarth. That was on
that
18 album called
Saxons and Vikings.
Saxons. And then Biff Byford did a guest spot on an Amon Amarth album in return too. It's crazy.
It's quite neat. It's a lot of respect there from both sides.
Yeah.
This album name checks Tommy Vance, by the way, who was another DJ on the BBC who played metal. There wasn't many of them, but he had a show.
We even have Motorhead literally listed on the album jacket as one of their special thanks.
Fast Eddie. See the light shining.
Oh, good old Fast Eddie. Yeah.
So, one of the best albums ever made in metal, indeed rock in general. I think it's awesome. And then Wheels of Steel was a big hit, as was 747 in Britain anyway, which is again the metal bands having top 10 hits was not normal.
Still isn't.
Still isn't, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, my mouse has decided to freeze.
trying to think, what was that song on that Thunder on? It was on the because Saxon was touring on Thunderbolt when I saw them, and I think the song is called like Predator or something that Johan sang on. I think it was called Predator. I refresh me. Tell me if I'm wrong, Kev. I think that's what it was called. But man, check out old songs from Biff and on.
Well, you can see them on YouTube. Yeah, it's all on YouTube. It's great stuff. 11 Alpha was talking about them earlier. So Strong Arm of the Law, followed with Heavy Metal Thunder, brilliant track. Just awesome stuff.
It's Dallas 1 p.m. I'm sure that's just about a nice afternoon in Texas.
Yeah, I've been there. I didn't see anything happening. Denim and Leather, another classic album.
Oh, dude.
They were at their peak, live as well, at their peak.
Like, don't get me wrong, like there's heavier albums that they've done, but for me, nothing will ever top Princess of the Night.
Oh, it's great, yeah. Just what an opening track on that. And then Denim Leather itself and the bands played on. That's a brilliant song.
Those are both outstanding.
Outstanding stuff. Can't say enough good things about them. Wish I could play more tracks. But they were the big ones. And then Eagles Landed live album, which if you've never heard it is fucking awesome. It's a record, basically a live testament to all those tracks from those first albums. Brilliant album. So yeah, that was Saxon.
Yeah.
So I kind of counted those as like the big three, but there was a bunch of others. Now, those three, I guess, Maiden and Leppard made a lot of money. Saxon probably okay.
They made enough to be a business.
Yeah. That's
my educated guess. They're enough to be a business.
It's enough for them to keep doing it.
Yep.
Even if you only had those three bands from that scene, it would still be something.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But there were a lot more that maybe didn't hit the commercial heights, but were hugely influential.
Oh, yeah. That's usually the beauty of a lot of these scenes that came up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s of all these subgenres. Yeah, you had all the big bands, and they all had their great moments. But it's also cool to see what smaller bands they get to this. It wasn't. I think a lot of people, like, especially who don't really pay attention to these particular scenes, kind of equate things popular means quality. And that's not always the case. Sometimes some bands are just, maybe they had bad management, bad promotion. Those kind of. So, especially in America, trends are a thing too.
Yeah, and some of these bands started to have a huge impact on the American scene. This band in particular, Diamond Head, formed in Stourbridge in West Midlands in 1976. I was lucky enough to see them in clubs at least 3 times. They played Air Force bases, and I was on an Air Force base.
Nice.
And they were nothing at that point. They were just like the first EP, self-produced EP.
Nice.
So I've got a soft spot in my heart for them. And this was this record was like Shoot Out the Lights, first self-produced single. Go ahead, mate.
I was gonna say they alone make a hefty paycheck alone from Metallica.
Oh yeah,
because of Am I Evil? It's just like, man, that's a great living. Someone else going out there playing your song. That's
well, somebody has a big hit with it. Yeah, so they were perennially unlucky themselves. Terrible management, very bad record deals, bad financial decisions. But they did the same route as many. They did their own little. I love this Happy Face Records, the Old Smithy, Post Office Lane, Worcester. How much more English can you get?
I know.
Shoot Out the Lights, great track. Then this self-produced EP that had that on it, the Diamond Lights EP, which I had a copy of, and somebody nicked it. And then what became Lightning to the Nations in 1980, but really at the time it was 1,000 copies signed by the band themselves, no cover. The cover came later in 92 when it was reissued, and that was the one that had some wrong band, that had kick-ass tracks on it.
I got a question for you there, Brian.
Yeah.
When you say nicked it, you mean somebody messed up the LP or somebody stole it from you?
Somebody stole it from me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just making that distinction
because it was
those of
quite
us on
rare.
this side of the pond. When you say Nick, maybe you took your needle and
I
scratched
fucking nicked
at
it,
or
mate.
something.
They nicked
Yeah.
it, mate.
Right. Yeah.
They
You
stole
can take
it
the
from
man
me.
out of the UK, but you can't take the UK out of the man.
No, you
That's right,
can't.
yeah.
Nope.
So this became a legendary album after. I mean, they signed every copy themselves and sold it by mail order or whatever, gave it out at gigs. I had Am I Evil, Helpless, 2 tracks of Metallica cover and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hugely influential for those bands. Unfortunately, ended up, and we're going to play a little more of them later. I have a little more later, saving that for later. They unfortunately broke up. They did get back together eventually, but you know, they never hit the heights, unfortunately. But hopefully, the remaining live band members like Brian Tatler are doing okay, as we see he's got a gig now. So.
And I think these guys improved the most, in my estimation, from when I first started listening to them to what I think of them now. Because early on, I'd heard like It's Electric and Am I Evil, and that was about it. And then I went through their discography, and holy shit, there are some bangers in there.
Oh yeah, very underappreciated band. Quite popular at the time on the club scene and supporting other bands. Never hit the commercial heights because terrible management, terrible record deals, whatever. It's a shame. They could have been a lot bigger, and they eventually had more progressive leanings with Canterbury and stuff like that, which kind of alienated their hardcore metal fans. Which
unfortunately, they were on that bus about 2 years too late for the progressive rock.
Too late, too early. It was either one or the other.
Well, that was the thing. They were too early for the 80s metal scene and what they were doing, even though they influenced the shit out of it. And then they were too late for the prog rock scene.
So just Sumo, this is a band called Diamond Head. Check them out. Check out Lightning to the Nations. I love Canterbury as well. It's a great album. Very influential. These are the bands that were influential that didn't necessarily have as much.
By the way, if the early production doesn't do it for you, there is a re-recording of the original Lightning to the Nations album from 2020 that is absolutely outstanding.
Yes, that's the one to look for, yeah. So I wanted to move on from them to, I was hoping Courtney would be here because I thought she might have something to say about these guys. I'll say guys, Girl School.
I saw Girls' School a few weeks ago at Hell's Heroes in Texas, and they were awesome.
They are
Lady
great.
still had it, and I know Lemmy was a big fan himself.
Well, they did the St. Valentine's Day Massacre EP and had a hit single with, what was the track that was on that? Oh, God, it's an old cover version. It'll come back to me. Shaking as I'm shaking so much. So they had a huge hit single with, and they loved Motorhead, and these guys loved each other. I wonder why. But yeah, an all-girl metal band, bit of a crossover because they were punky too, and they had the Runaways thing going on and glam, a bit of glam, but definitely metal fans loved them.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and they were loved when I saw them last month. Like you know, they're a lot older now. But they still sound great, and it was really fun to see. And I know that when the current tour that they wrapped up is their last major tour. They're from going forward, like they'll still release some albums and do some occasional dates, but what they're doing is their final tour. So they're just kind of being more of a sporadic act nowadays. But yeah, really killer band.
Oh yeah, they were very influential. I mean, they might have been the first all-girl metal band. I'm not sure.
I think they're one of the first, if not the first, because there's some out there like in thrash. There's Nervosa, in death metal there's Dercada, but as far as like treadwave heavy metal, I think they're at least at heavy metal. I'm sure they're the first. Now
Vixen was a hair band, really.
I've never really considered Vixen. Now Vixen's good, but I never really consider them a metal band.
I think
these days you have somebody like the Burning Witches, maybe.
Yeah, there's Burning Witches
I think
too.
Girls' School were first. I really do think.
I think they might have been.
There was girl bands, but not metal girl bands. And they did rock hard. Demolition, great album. That was one of the tracks we had in the montage. Very, toured with and played with bands like Motorhead. And they got a lot of commercial success. They actually had hit singles. Like Race with the Devil was a hit single.
I think that may have been the first song I ever heard from them.
Yeah,
I think that was.
I love this album and this cover. I've got the
That
album
cover's
back
awesome.
there. Right?
Oh, this is once again,
Run.
it's one of those
That's
covers that you
badass.
own the vinyl for just because of how gorgeous
I've-
the artwork is.
That's why I rebought it again recently, just so I
Check
can.
the license plate, man. Yeah, right.
Like the album, I have that put on a
I was
name
finding it.
frame.
I was finding it hard to get clips of them back in the day that weren't immediately copyright blocked. So I've got a clip from them from I think it's 2012
Mhm.
in Wacken, playing Race with the Devil. So let's have a look at them. Yeah, Wacken, nice stuff. But back in the day, they were pretty popular in the scene and popular with us rock lads. For some reason. I mean, and the thing is, that's what a real feminist looks like. That's what they look like, not like whatever.
Oh, what we see nowadays? Yeah.
Hit and Run. They had a hit with Come On, Let's Go. Come On, Let's Go. So they did some good covers. The Hunter was a great track.
I gotta revisit this one. It's
cover
been a
of Tush.
long time since I heard this album, but yeah, it's freaking great.
It's a
They
fun
covered-
album.
They covered Tush by ZZ Top, really?
Yes.
That's
So,
amazing.
they're on the hard rock glam metal end, but still lovely band. Still, I'm glad they managed to keep going over the years. So influential in many ways. Race with the Devil, yeah, great hit single for them in the UK. Lovely stuff. So FKHC 2005, good to see you, buddy. Can see what I'm wearing. Yes.
Hey, FK.
No secret of who I want to win the poll. Although
He's
the
better
losing
known as Tim. Yes.
Tim. Hello, Tim. Yes. Yeah, Girl School. So another, there you go. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre EP with Motorhead, which again got them a ton of TV and radio. And, it was fun because, like I said, they had a lot of fun together.
Yeah. Oh, Lemmy was one of the first champions of the band. He was one of the very first ones who was like, "Hey, no, check out this band. They're fucking good."
Surely out of the goodness of his heart, I am absolutely certain.
Absolutely, yeah. He got nothing else out of it. Well, you remember that clip we played of him with the British girl band, the Nolans, last show, one of the shows recently. Yeah, I wonder why he was into that, doing that track. Right, so we're going to talk about one I know Imp's going to be keen to mention, Venom.
There we go.
Oh yeah,
a band that almost you wouldn't imagine wasn't British. It's just the weirdest thing. Although when you hear them speak, they're British because they're from Newcastle. Why I'm in. Formed in Newcastle in '78. Very, am I right in saying, very formative in the black metal?
Very formative in every underground metal scene.
Black and death and heavy.
Everything.
All the subgenres. They're definitely, as far as metal as a whole, they're definitely one of the most influential bands of all time. Like that shirt of the black metal cover is that's one of those shirts it's one of the it's almost like the Motorhead shirt. Like it when you see it. Like, okay, that's Venom. Like everyone who actually knows metal knows Venom, and even if they don't like him, their influences never stayed up. So,
and I will say they straight up founded black metal.
Oh, I've had debates and arguments galore about that topic. It's kind of like the Who created death metal, the Who created black metal. I'm a very mixed minds on who created Venom. Now, obviously, they definitely coined the name, but
it's an album.
We'll say that conversation for.
We can
I have a very funny story about the time I was supposed to see Venom my first time 11 years ago. Maryland Death Fest in Baltimore in 2013. They're supposed to headline the final night of the outdoor stage, and apparently Kronos was late. And I still to this day don't know why he was late, but Kronos was late, and about 20 minutes into their set, the power got pulled on them, and I found out it was from the city of Baltimore, and the crowd immediately started a freaking riot. It was the only time I've ever been in a riot ever. I remember everyone lost their fucking minds.
Wow.
Because it was the first time there had been a U.S. performance from Venom in a while. That's because back when they were new, they used to do U.S. a little bit more frequently, doing tours like Slayer in the works. But for them to play in the 2010s, in America, that was like a unicorn sighting. I remember looking to my left. I saw a glass bottle of beer flying my way, and I dodged it. I couldn't believe I dodged it. Shit almost hit me, man. But it was the wildest shit I've ever seen. I was like, holy crap. It was intense. Like I felt like I was in like Rambo or some shit. But with 5,000 or 6,000 metalheads. And I remember I got the hell. I ran out of that area, and somehow the band made amends with the organizers, and they did come back to the festival 5 years later. But yeah, at the time that was shocking, and no one thought like, "Whoa!" I didn't imagine a riot was going to happen, but it was straight up scary. It was.
You hang out in clubs long enough, you're going to be part of one of those.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I actually don't think it's unusual that a black metal band would come from Newcastle. It's a pretty fucking depressing place to live in.
I mean, that's what they've said about all the Scandinavian bands. That people are like, "Oh, Scandinavia is so beautiful." Is it really?
Well, they were a big influence on that well-known Scandinavian metal band ABBA, I believe. So it's they look the same. I mean, they dress the same way.
Well, I did see at least one Venom black metal shirt at the concert this weekend. So
you will almost always see at least
yeah.
one.
That's right. But it's
not a metal bingo card of shirts that are being worn at a metal show. Yeah, the Venom shirt's definitely one of them.
Yeah, I was playing metal shirt bingo.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Metallica actually opened for them at one point.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think they can claim they started black metal. At least one of the originators that made it popular or made it.
They made it a name. They never really made no black metal bands ever made it popular.
No, but they inspired all the others.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. 100%.
The Bay Area bands would be not as nearly as much without them.
Oh yeah, the Bay Area stuff, the Scandinavian stuff that came out in the early to mid 90s. Not just the lyrical content or the sound, but also the fashion sense.
Yes,
the leather and the spikes, the bullet belt,
show, the hair.
With
the hair going like this. And in fact, I've got a little clip of them. Somebody's in the BRB. Sorry, Joe will BRB. I have a video. It's a little clip because of copyright, but here you go. And to think that's 1981.
Yeah,
it's pretty hard for like mid 80s, and then seeing that in like 80 or 81 must have been like, what the?
Well, you had at the time, you had Venom, Slayer, Creator. I think Dark Angel was about starting up as well.
Bathory.
Yeah, Bathory.
I remember seeing that at
Sodom.
the time.
Sodom. Yeah,
at the time I thought I'd never seen anything like it at the time in 81.
There was nothing like it at the time.
So Welcome to Hell, when you know the subject matter.
that's the other thing that they really pioneered too, though, was the satanic lyrical content.
Yes.
More so than any other band at that time was doing. They had no fucks to give about that.
Yeah.
Now, 70s. Do you know about the fight that happened? Well, not so much of a fight, but more of an incident that happened between Tom Araya from Slayer and Kronos from Venom.
I have heard about it, but let's tell the audience.
So Slayer and Venom were on tour together, and apparently Jeff and Carrie from Slayer were hanging out with Kronos from Venom, and Tom arrived at the scene pissed drunk. And, well, he got his dong out and pissed everywhere all over Kronos. And Kronos freaking wailed him in the face.
Of course he
for
would.
that. Right? Of course he would. And, Tom Araya finished the rest of the tour with a big old black eye in his face. It's not been clear if they ever did or did not make up to this day. But, holy crap.
People did the strangest things when they're drunk.
Oh, indeed.
I just wanted to point out on this that it's on Neat Records, which was an independent Newcastle-based label that a lot of these bands ended up on, and it does credit Jeff Barton of Sounds at the bottom as well for his help. So a couple of major players on the scene, Neat Records and Jeff Barton,
The really unique thing with them is how raw their sound is, in that they don't scrub anything out, even compared to some of the really low budget stuff you would see from other NWOBHM bands. These guys like went for it on purpose.
Yeah,
and they were also one of the first bands from that era to do a concept album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check out the 666 with the upside down pentagram.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
That was their
That's
thing.
pretty cool.
That's tame for this compared to
Oh,
now.
I imagine it.
At the time,
it was shocking. They were shocking.
However, I have a clip to play.
Oh yeah, play it.
Lemmy, no.
I want to see this happen.
Lemmy was not the biggest fan.
Slayer and Venom. I don't look at them. Do you look at them?
Well, the big difference is a lot of those bands changing just because the music scene changed.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. We're updating our songs, I think.
We're kind of stuck in the mud, you know. We don't give a fuck, you know. We think what we're doing is okay without changing it too much. We change it a bit, you know, but not much. I'm quite satisfied with what we do.
I call that updating songs.
Yeah, right.
And they didn't. They just changed after whatever is popular more.
I mean, Venom didn't change because they didn't have the fucking ability. The only thing they could do is jump off a higher stage, you know. The first year Venom came out, right?
I love this.
They said, so, Venom is the new Motorhead. I say, look how long they last. I rest my case. They're gone, I'm here.
So he's not a fan.
Oh my gosh, man. I guess not.
To be fair, Lemmy, the way Dave Mustaine was having feuds with everyone in the 90s, Lemmy kind of was having feuds with everyone first. So this is right in line for Lemmy's character to have feuds with everyone under the sun.
He's loving it. He's having fun with that. Yeah.
Oh, dude, no, he really leaned in. He really leaned in on talking shit.
He did praise Pantera in that later in that interview, which I was pleased with because I love Pantera. But anyway, Venom, hugely influential, no doubt about it. It's I even struggled to think at times that they were actually a British band. I keep thinking they must have been American, you know, but no, they were British. So another one, just briefly, I want to talk about Samson. Obviously, Bruce Dickinson's band, first band with Paul Samson, guitar player, did a lot of touring and festival success. I saw them live with Bruce Dickinson in a club. It's pretty fucking good. I think Crocus were the support act. I'm trying to remember, or were they the headliners? One or the other.
Nice.
I loved Crocus, man. I thought they were great.
It was a great gig. And Head On in 1980 was a bit of had a bit of success. Earth Mother was in that. It was a hit single. And then, of course, Bruce got poached, so they never were the same again. Tigers of Pantang. Does anyone remember the Tigers?
I've heard of them.
I hear background noise from somebody.
Someone's got a child. Sorry. That's all right, mate. So they were from Whitley Bay in Tyneside, not far from Newcastle. Pantang, I didn't realize. I'm reading the Elric books right now.
Yep.
Michael Moorcock. It's in them. I didn't know that.
Are you reading the French comic, Elric?
No, it's this every book in order.
Every book in order.
Every book. And I went, Pantang's in here. Okay, that's where the name came from. But
you know, they have their later album covers are fucking awesome. Like they have the one with the giant tiger climbing the I think it's the Seattle Space Needle.
Oh, they're great. The
amazing. I have a poster of that album somewhere.
They were also on Neat Records along with Venom because they were on Neat for a while until they got a major deal. John Sykes played on the second and third albums. So John Sykes of Thin Lizzy and White Snake and all those other bands. More traditional hard rock band though, and classic metal.
I can tell you this: they probably have a lot of feminist hate if they changed one letter in their name. That's for sure.
Well spotted.
Yeah,
I
should have spotted that. That's right up my alley.
Neil Davina, she's keeping us right with the.
And the one thing you can say about these guys is they kind of started the trend with power metal talking and singing about fantasy stuff.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, I loved them. I thought they were great, and they almost made it big. They had some hits, but then they had a dispute with MCA Records, and they disbanded, and they kind of lost the momentum.
Like the album I was talking about, I think it's the next one after this was this one.
Crazy Nights
was their big one.
Great album. The third one.
Fantastic record. Amazing album cover. I want to get that framed. But this was at the point where they got in the fight with MCA Records, and given a smaller band like Tigers of Pantang, that was only ever going to head one way.
It was, they lost the war with the label. Shame, because they were, I think they could have been as big as Leppard, Def Leppard.
And maybe sort of a Leppard that could have been, in that they didn't sell out.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about them again a little later, but because I've got my favorite 10 tracks, which we're going to hit eventually. It's going to be a long show today. But great band. Check them out. Had a big hit with the cover of Love Potion No. 9. Great for the MTV era, but the split up ruined it for them with the MCA. This is a funny bunch. You may have or may not have heard of Tokyo Blade.
Heard of it, yeah.
Also were known as Genghis Khan, and then changed the name. Formed in Salisbury in the late 70s. Little later than some of the other bands in the scene to get attention. Little later in the 80s, early 80s. They had an EP, Midnight Rendezvous. This is a fake picture showing Brian May in the band, which he wasn't. If you look closely, it's supposed to be Brian May. They played gigs with Metallica and Venom. They toured with them, but they went more for the glam metal, hair metal. They were an early hair metal band, which is why they're influential. They never made it big commercially, but they had stuff on MTV. They were hair metal. American bands then came and took that stuff over.
Which now it makes sense why all the Japanese band names have ridiculous titles, because all the really cool ones like Tokyo Blade and stuff like that were already taken by the Brits.
That's right.
Right.
And this album, Night of the Blade, excellent album if you like kind of a glam hair metal inflected stuff. Pretty damn good.
It's a killer cover too. Really killer cover. Once again, man, it was like a sport for killer album covers at the time. You didn't have to find these covers; they found you.
Yeah, and then Blackhearts and Jaded Spades was the next album after that, and so both those albums are really good. Check them out. I did have a clip of them in the opening montage. I may have another clip later.
There's some artwork you would never be able to get past today.
Right. But they didn't sell, unfortunately, even with some really good videos, just didn't click. And the guys like Motley Crue were the ones that sold. These guys were really good, though. Better bands than them, I think. So Tokyo Blade, check them out. Dirty Faced Angels, great record. Night of the Blade's great. Some good stuff on here, you know. And they fell by the wayside. Eventually, I think they reformed later, and you can see them now. They don't look like this now. They look like bricklayers.
Yeah,
like everybody. That's what they did after this.
That's right. That's probably what they did. Yeah. Another band did want to mention was Angel Witch.
Yes, Angel Witch is very. I was a late bloomer to this one. I'll admit it.
Me too. At the time, I knew them but I didn't listen. Years later, I listened to them. Angel Witch, especially the first album that was called Angel Witch. They were they had they were London band. Baphomet was the song that was on Metal for Mothers. So they were right there at the beginning of the movement. And really a very accomplished band that should have made it bigger. You know, a couple of hits. It's funny, the bit of trivia. Their first single was on EMI in 1980. It was called Sweet Danger. It was at 1 week in the UK singles chart at number 75, which is the lowest you could be. So they got in the Guinness Book of Records, meaning for being the least successful chart act of all time.
There you go.
They had 1 week at the bottom position. So,
this is the first album I got exposed to with Angel Witch. I remember this is the first cover I saw. It really stood out. I think I just saw wearing a shirt of it. I think that's how I came across this. So I was wearing a shirt. I remember thought, oh wow, that's a really killer cover. And then that's when I learned about Angel Witch.
Sorry, wrong one. That was the Bronze label, which had a lot of great bands on it. 1980 was that album. Very underrated album. Check it out, everybody. A lot of black metal stuff. Tinged stuff on it, you know. It wasn't as heavy as Venom, but it was a bit tinged. It was a little bit like that, you know. So a great band. Hey, Pete Dencat's here. Good to see you.
Pete.
And then the final one on the list that I really have time to talk, because there's dozens of bands.
Oh yeah, we could go
Dozens
all
of
day.
bands. Was Raven.
Oh
I
yeah.
actually played one of theirs on my stream on Saturday.
Well, there you go. So Raven,
I think it was Metal City. Really good one.
another Newcastle band on Neat Records.
Is the guy in the middle a rollerball fan?
Yeah, I think so. That's the Rollerball. They were formed in '74, so they probably did see Rollerball.
Mm-hmm.
But Raven, really, really great band. And we're gonna again. They may feature in my top 10. Love this cover of their first album. They toured with Ozzy, Motorhead, Whitesnake, Iron Maiden, Rock Until You Drop, 1981. Great cover with all the trashed instruments.
Didn't Def Leppard do a Rock Till You Drop song?
Rock of Ages was one. I don't know.
No, I think they did one that was titled pretty much the same
Possibly.
thing.
I think there's a few bands have had similar titles. Then
Another band that Metallica opened for.
Yes, that's
Raven.
right.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
So no, you go ahead, mate.
Okay. Yeah, it's crazy to think that like Metallica opened for Venom, they opened for Raven, so clearly they were big fans of the NWOBHM scene. And I didn't know about Raven until my mid-20s. Actually, I was a really late bloomer to this band. I saw them by chance at Reggie's. It just all roads lead back to Reggie's. It was 2013 or 14, and I remember they started at 11 p.m. at night, thinking, okay, this better be worth it. They're starting really late, and they absolutely rocked it, man. The venue is honestly only like half filled. It was on like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. I think they probably sold 50-60% of tickets, but they played that show like it was a sold out show. And even though it was a half filled venue, that crowd was into it.
Nice.
There's something special about those shows where even if it's only like a half filled show, but the people who are there are really into it.
Committed and into it.
Yeah. Oh, dude, they were into it, man. So like it really stood out like how awesome that show was. And yeah, they were absolutely amazing. It was cool. One of the few bands too where I see where the singers use the microphone piece that they like a ear headphone set. It's yeah.
You used to see a lot of that in the 80s in particular.
Yeah. They still do it that way.
So this is a very wiped out. It's proto thrash and speed. I mean,
yeah. I agree.
Yeah, love it. Great album. So yeah, that was kind of the ones that I really want to emphasize, given we haven't got all day.
I did want to mention the tragedy story that was Grim Reaper real fast.
Yeah, go for it.
They were actually a really great band from this period. Had a couple of progressively better albums as they went along, because the first one, the production was kind of trash, and then basically they got in a fight with their label, only to realize that they had signed such a abusive contract that the label now owned the name Grim Reaper. So they were never able to reform or continue their career. Really,
was the story of a lot of these bands.
Oh man. I'm hoping someday, somewhere, someone we'll get like a good, extensive, well-informed documentary on this particular way, because there's a lot of good ones on like the Bay Area of thrash, or some really good ones on the early 90s of like Florida death metal. I would like to see something on the NWOBHM. I think the closest we've gotten to good retrospect is probably like some of the bands that obviously Razorfist has covered on his Metal Mythos, but I'd like to see a NWOBHM as a whole, because
Nick,
there's a lot of hidden gems.
If someone wants to pay us $100,000, we'll go do it.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if we have the money. Oh, you and I could. Yeah, we with this panel,
I would love to do that. I would do a proper documentary if I was funded to do it. But
oh god, yeah, I would go to do all the research for it.
Exactly. So millions more bands. We're never going to touch them all, but some of them that were well known or the names are still out there, like Witchfinder General, White Spirit, which is Yannick Jers's band. Obviously he's in Maiden now. Jaguar, great band. Holocaust, Not necessarily a band whose name is going to get them played in the radio. That's a bad career move.
I love that name, though.
Well, it shows you what a difference a decade makes, because in '69, when they originally formed, Judas Priest was known as Hiroshima.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they changed the name because they knew no one would sign them with it.
They should have toured together, Holocaust and Hiroshima.
Let's forget there is a thrash metal band called Toxic Holocaust,
And they fucking slay.
and they do, and they're still a band, so it probably isn't too out of the realm. of
That's only one
possibility.
guy, so it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to break up with yourself.
Oh, it can
That's
happen.
what don't cry.
You're not. You're never alone with a schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Addressed Davina Duckworth in the chat there, and I was typing to her. She asked the question: Did MTV? What was her exact words there? She asked.
What were her
Oh,
words?
right. Here we go.
Yeah.
MTV made a choice between Alice in Chains and Blue Murder. They picked Alice in Chains, which was the death knell for hair metal.
Right,
Talk
and
is
she
what-
she asked
yeah.
if they killed heavy metal and
No.
one other thing, and
They
I
drove
said
it
no.
underground.
I said if nothing else, they
helped make it
actually
better.
exposed normies like me to it. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So yeah, I don't think they killed it at all.
And you'll hear
heavy
me
metal
say
is
that
always going to be around. Always, it is. Always.
you've heard me say certain things have killed metal, and
Yeah.
I say that almost jokingly.
Maliciously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick.
Yeah.
But all it did was it drove metal underground.
Yeah.
When it got taken off MTV because of all the grunge.
Mhm.
Well, what you did was you do what I would do is, if you still wanted good heavy music, you find a place that sold it.
Yeah, you went out and sought it out. That was a thing, and especially the scenes of, I don't know how it is, outside of the country of America, but I know America is really focused on trends and things coming and going. But from what I've talked to for a lot, I guess you say metalheads in our countries, it seems that a lot of fans, once they're in it, that's it. That's
it,
their livelihood. But in America, it has been always a bit more fair weather. It has been, admittedly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for
So,
sure. I mean,
I'm sure Imperitus and Pope and we can definitely we all know a few guys like that. We all do.
Oh yeah.
So,
Well, the funny thing is I got insanely lucky because there's a shop out here that's still around called Rock Fantasy,
mhm.
and I also went out there to hang out with, and Nick will know this band, a couple of the guys from Morpheus Descends.
Oh yeah.
So I got an education. Because all I did was the one time I asked is what's good, and they're like, "Well, what do you think of this?" And I said I liked it, and they went, "Oh, really?"
Mm-hmm.
And just kept feeding me albums like, "Here, check this out. Here, check this out. Here, check this out. Here, check this out." And it ranged everywhere from trad metal all the way up to the snarliest black metal.
Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of if you're someone who's really into it, whether something's in or out in America. You just gotta, instead of when it's a trendy thing, the stuff kind of finds you, but once it's no longer inside, you gotta do that yourself. And I think being a metalhead has kind of already trained me to that, because obviously nowadays we've seen what's happened with movies and comics, and now we have to do that again, but with these other mediums. Like being a metalhead, it kind of prepared you for that in a way. I think 70s, and I'm sure you guys can agree on that. We had to learn how to find these things nowadays. I was finding new movies
because it's still out there. All the good stuff's still out there. You just have to go looking for it now. Yeah,
I can't count how many bands I found because another band mentioned them in the liner notes.
Oh,
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying about MTV with the
friend.
heavy metal half hour. I mean, they exposed me to this kind of music, and I went down the rabbit hole and started checking out more and more and more of it. I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
I
how
don't
it
think it kills
started.
it at all. Yeah,
especially when it came to finding obscure repositories of these things and stuff like that. Like when everyone else was freaking out over stuff getting either censored on any public platform or whatever, or stuff straight up being taken down off of certain services or not available for sale in its original form. I feel like the metalheads were lining up in the background, this is it, boys. This is the moment we've been training for.
Yep. And that's the thing is modernity has tried creeping into the metal scene, and it gets rejected hard
every single time. The only aspect that they've I'd say succeeded, which is not really saying much. It's probably just in some of the media outlets, the metal injections, the blabbermouth, metal sucks world. But no one with a mind that has an informed opinion on metal listens to them. So we to us they don't exist.
And the bands themselves went screaming right back to the 80s and the mid 2010s.
So, gents, I'm sorry, it's a great conversation, but Nick needs to get out here. So, fantastic conversation, but I know Nick, you needed to be gone 5 minutes ago. So
it's okay. It's okay. Things happen. When the conversation's good, sometimes you get lost in the midst of things. No, I wish I could be here longer. Obviously, we have a good vibe going on with this conversation, but unfortunately, Nick has stuff he has to attend to at home.
Well, appreciate you being here, buddy. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you.
Always great to see you, man.
Great to see you, Joe. It's about damn time. It's been a while.
Do you want to plug?
I'm busy on Tuesday nights now, so I can't. I'm a little busy. I work. That's the one day of the week that I work. So it's hard for me to do anything.
So if it ever clears up, there's always an open door for you to come back on Toxic Tuesday. You haven't lost it. But
so do you want to plug something?
Yeah, Toxic Tuesday tomorrow night. We're talking dodgeball.
Man,
you dodge a wrench, you
dodge a ball. That's right.
So it's gonna be huge.
Some of us happen to like the taste of our own urine.
I didn't realize rewatching it twice, it is a very toxic movie. So I can't wait to talk about it.
Well, look forward to that, mate. Yeah, look forward to that.
Do check out my channel, folks. If you're new here and you haven't seen it before, do check it out. And 70s, thanks for having me. Pope, Joe, Doswolf, Imperitus. Good to see you, gents, as well. You all have a magical evening.
Always a pleasure. Take care. See ya.
Talk to you soon, bud.
Right. So, would you guys mind indulging me while I run down 10 of my favorite songs from the era?
Of course.
We'll either blast you or agree. One of the two.
Indeed. And we'll see what everybody in the chat thinks of them. Now, these might not be the 10 best. They're not even in order, but they're 10 of the ones that sprang to my mind when I thought of this show. So, let's see. I might even have an overlay. Look at that. How professional is this show?
10 of the best.
10 of the best. Would you like 10 of the best? I was looking for a picture of a sexy school teacher woman with a switch or whatever, but I couldn't find it. So first up is going to be Running Free, Iron Maiden. So always love this track. Oh, hey, before we start that, Courtney is here.
She made it.
Hey. We can't hear you, but you are here. Oh, she's gone again. Anyway, so let's play a little clip of Running Free.
I'm running free, yeah. I'm running free. I'm running free, yeah. I'm running free.
So yeah, the great Running Free, Iron Maiden when they were raw and punky with Paul Daniel singing. He's a great vocalist, I thought. Very different from Bruce Dickinson. Not that there's anything wrong with Bruce. So that's one of my favorites. I don't know if you guys like it or not.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm. So hopefully the chat liked that one too. They did. Mm-hmm. So that was one. I don't have a proper countdown or anything here, but so Running Free, as you can see, the that lovely single cover sleeve that we looked at later. Brilliant artwork. Next one, Diamond Head. Am I Evil? If I was Anchorman, it'd be Am I Evil? At the end.
Put a question mark on the telephone.
That's right. He's going to read everything. This is a performance that they made with Metallica, who invited them on stage at a gig in Birmingham in England in like the 90s, I think. Courtney's back. Hey. Hello. We still can't hear you, though. We can see you.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
you're
can hear you
here.
now.
Hold on, let me mute
Hang on.
the.
I'm going to put you that way so we can see you. There you are. How are you?
Late, but I'm glad I'm here.
That's all right. So we're just
I've been
running.
listening. It's been a
We're
good
just
show.
running through 10 of my favorite tracks from the era, and we're going to do Diamond Head, but this one is a clip of them live with Metallica, who obviously famously covered it.
Slowly up here, you know. Wait for it! Come on! My mother was a witch. She was burned alive. Thankless little bitch. For the tears I've cried. Take her down now. Don't wanna see her face. Blistered and burned. I can't hide my disgrace. 27, everyone was nice. Gotta see them make them pay the price. See their bodies out on the ice. Take my you ready, you love. Am I evil? Yes, I am.
Yeah, I love that. It's Metallica were always good at crediting these guys that they loved and covered. So they got them on stage in the 90s in Birmingham, near where they're from, and all 4 original members. So that was neat.
That's my.
And it's a drum
absolute
pace
favorite
Lars
band.
Ulrich can keep up with.
Nope.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I think the other drum. Sorry,
Metallica,
John.
Metallica
you was-
also covered a band I was in, but
there you go.
they're good about covering bands.
Yeah. John, sorry, you were saying something?
Yeah, this is my absolute favorite Metallica song. So,
Oh, they do it great. They do a great version, and they did Helpless as well, which is another great
Yeah.
Diamond
All
Head.
I know is I'm gonna have to check out Diamond Head now
Oh,
because
awesome.
that's the first time I ever heard them. So, hey.
So what song did they cover of yours, Courtney?
I played bass. Well, I filled in on bass in a band called Fang, and it was called "The Money Will Roll Right In," and they did it on Master Puppets, the remaster.
We've talked
They
about
did
that
like a
before.
instrumental.
Yeah. I love that song. I mean, Nirvana did it too. And,
Nirvana covered it, Mudhoney, yeah, a whole bunch of bands.
yeah. Yeah, so that was another one. I have more. Obviously, Diamond Head, Am I Evil? It was on Lightning to the Nations, which is what that eventually became re-recorded and called. Jaguar, or Jaguar, as I would have said. Jaguar. Backstreet Woman, another more obscure new wave of British heavy metal bands. So let's play a little bit of this one for you. See what you think. Some of these are obviously later performances, not at the day. So couldn't find
What year
it.
was that?
I couldn't find. Well, that's in the 2000s. I couldn't find a contemporary video of it anywhere. It's Jaguar is the band. Backstreet Woman is the track.
The more obscure ones, you're not really going to find video of them, are you?
These were very difficult bands.
I
to
like
find.
that album cover.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Single. I did have some details about them here, but what the hell? They're a band and they were good and they made a few singles. And then they got back together like many of these bands 2 years later to try and recreate something. Another
I wonder if
band.
the Backstreet Boys stole their name from that album.
That's right. Yes, maybe. So Jaguar, it was quite an obscure one, but so next one would be Tokyo Blade that we talked about earlier, who were the glam ones, and I love this. I love this track, Dirty Face Angel.
I like the title.
Oh yeah,
that's cool.
Let's share this video, Dirty Face Angel. Check out the original Jaguar Backstreet Woman, by the way. It's on YouTube. I just couldn't play it. The original audio, it's brilliant. Killer riff at the beginning. And let's watch these boys with their glam metal, hair metal, proto hair metal act. Yeah, the band that should have been Motley Crue.
I was going to say.
I was fixing to say.
At my heart, just because of, you know.
They should have been. To me, they were way better, and for whatever reason, it just never happened for them, even though they were made
that looked like they just took the hair metal genre, threw it in a blender, and put it on stage, man. That's
something
what it
like
looked
that. Yeah, something like that. So it's proto hair metal, absolutely. That's like 1984, 85. And you know, they just it was a shame they never made a cent out of it, and yet they were way better than some of those bands.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Tokyo Blade, check them out. They had some good stuff. Yeah, that was on the Black Hearts and Jaded Spades album, which has that weird cover. It's a strange cover. So next up, Def Leppard. Had to have a Leppard one in there. Get Your Rocks Off on the very first Def Leppard EP, self-recorded and produced and published, and still a kick-ass track. Let me just call up a little clip of that. This is when they were a street fighting band. Yes, there was a time that Def Leppard sounded like that.
Yes.
Amazing.
It's wild how some of these bands just totally morph with one or two things, you know? I mean, it's like just think about the Eagles whenever Joe Walsh introduced them to cocaine. Their sound totally changed.
I don't know if he introduced them to it. I think he increased their supply, though.
They have more money.
It's crazy as it sounds, Joe. Even in the stuff I listen to, that happens.
Yeah,
not so much the cocaine, but the sound changing. But it's even more drastic when it comes to
my
stuff.
You know what I'm saying?
If
one or two things in the band changes, and all of a sudden the sound is drastically different. You know,
I only ever got to see Def Leppard once, and it was when they did the it was called Live 8 instead of Live Aid. It was 20 years after.
Yeah,
they did it in Philly.
I remember that.
They were good.
I mean, they're good, but that's a different Def Leppard that nobody that likes them, normies, would ever know existed, and they were rocking hard.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Def Leppard EP that appeared on. Bludgeon Riffola Records, love it. Next one is a band called Jameson Raid, not to be confused with a later band that stole their name. This is and it's a song called 7 Days of Splendor. If you've not heard this one, then it's a rare gem, I have to say it. This is a later live performance. Yeah, obviously much later performance of that song, because you can't find contemporary video of a lot of these. They just didn't do them. Nobody ever filmed them.
Well, film equipment wasn't exactly portable then.
No.
But listen to if you find the original on YouTube, 7 Days of Splendor, it's got a killer opening riff, which was a bit obscured there by the volume. But
I just wonder if it was a requirement for these bands to have a flying V guitar. It looks like all of them do.
Yes,
They're
it was, but I could
awesome.
not be happier about it. That one in the video there is one I want, that pure white flying V.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
I just went and saw my friend's band the other day. They're a punk band, The Casualties, but my buddy Jake plays a flying V. Always has. Those are good. I don't know. They look
great. They look great.
They look awesome.
They just look cool. Yeah.
So the next one is a track by a band called Satan. We briefly mentioned earlier. I think Trial by Fire. This is another one that's fairly obscure, I'd have to say. Let's play a little clip of that. See what you think. So Trial by Fire, again, you can't get better video quality of them playing that. That is back in the day, and that's the best you're going to get. The record, of course, sounds really good.
Proto thrash.
Proto thrash, yeah. Satan were hard, thrashy, fast band. I think they might still be kicking around today in some form or other, but I love that track. So check it out, everybody. Satan, Trial by Fire.
They seem kind of like the middle ground between Motorhead and Venom. Like,
I could see that a little. Yeah, you can see that.
Yeah, it's a good point. Good point, mate. Yeah. I'm just trying to play a few that I know I love, and just in case anybody wants to go listen to them, So the Satan, Trial by Fire, great cover for the album.
Yeah.
Court in the Act.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Court in the Act, nice.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Caught in the Act. Yeah.
Court in the Act. Courtney in the Act might be better.
There you go. Courtney in the Act.
So obviously got to have a Saxon. Can't do this without Saxon.
I would judge you if you didn't.
And of course I could have picked 15 different tracks, and I eventually decided to go for Machine Gun, I think was the one I fancied having in this top 10. I say top 10. Yeah, I love Machine Gun. So let's play a little clip of the mighty Saxon, I think from the 80s, this playing Machine Gun.
Machine gun, machine gun, machine gun, machine gun, it's gonna shoot you down.
I don't think you do not
I'd love to see them live. I want to see them live.
The reason I picked that is I just love the ferocious intensity of that, and the Graham Oliver is just slaying it, and that's the same sequence that the clip I played earlier of him smashing the guitar. He eventually smashes. So that's the same sequence. He just goes on. He just wrecks the thing eventually. But the band are just ferocious.
You got to be in good shape to be a drummer for one of these bands. Good Lord. I don't know how they keep up with that. That's crazy.
Possibly their fastest, hardest, thrashiest track, I think.
Wow.
Just love that to death. Like Saxon, I love you. So that had to be in there. Obviously from Wheels of Steel, which any track from that could have been picked. Next one, Tigers of Pantang. I'm a sucker for a rocked up cover version, and this was a hit single in the pop charts. Tigers of Pantang. So I gotta give them their due, and I gotta play it because it's catchy. I mean, it might have seen as it being a sellout, but I actually loved it. So let's share a little bit of this.
Number 9.
Wow. That sounds like a totally different song, man. That's awesome.
I love that performance.
Awesome.
That rocked.
Yeah, that's bad.
And the singing on that is the vocals, which was Jess Cox. I think that was Jesse Cox. I always forget the names. He really sings that beautifully.
I love it when rock bands get a hold of pop music and redo it. I think it's awesome. One of my favorite ones is what is it? Smooth Criminal by Alien Ant Farm. That is awesome.
Oh yeah,
I love that.
I mean, the people said, "Oh, you're selling out by doing this old, pop song, Love Potion Number 9." And that doesn't sound like selling out to me.
No, it sounds like transforming it into something different. Yeah,
it rocked hard.
Cool. Alien Ant Farm just played actually a small little venue here.
Well, they were in Vegas when we were there a couple of weeks ago, and they were playing on Fremont Street for free. So Brahma and his wife, she wanted to go and see them. So Brahma and his wife went up to see them. I didn't. But
did they have the dancing? Remember that video with the little kid dancing?
I didn't see them. I said, no, I've got other things to do. So, I hope everybody enjoyed that track. That was a real banger, as they used to say. And Admiral Wackass is saying an ear banger, early banger. It was a banger. So I think I might have one more of these. Hang on. So that was Tigers of Pantang from Love Potion Number 9. Big hits for them. And the last one, I think this is the last one, Angel Witch. The track is Angel Witch, and the album is called Angel Witch. This
subtitled Angel Witch.
So it's a great album, great track. I'm not sure I could get a really good quality copyright blocking, not copyright blocked copy. So this is what we've got.
I could see you, same way as myself. Fly high and touch the sky, you're the angel I adore. Only you can tell for me that I feel for you. What do you know, the angel I gotta go with? You're an angel, it's your angel. You're an angel, it's your angel.
So great 1981 live performance of Angel Witch. Check that band and that track out. It's awesome. And as we saw the album cover earlier, excellent album cover. Great album. That was 10 of my favorites. There are many others that people may wish to talk about. I don't know if you guys get any I haven't mentioned, or any bands or anything you think from that era. Or what was the lasting impact? Obviously, we saw the impact on the Scandinavian bands in the Bay Area.
Well, it wasn't even just that. Just Venom's influenced the whole underground metal
Yeah.
in general. I mean, you'd be very hard pressed to find any band that's doing something on one of the more extreme styles to say they don't like Venom, or at least have some sort of appreciation for him.
Yeah. So I just want to say cheers to D-Bad Martin. Thanks for all the modding again, mate, and for being here and posting links, all that stuff you do. We really appreciate it, brother. Take care. Have a great day, mate.
Take care, D-Bud. The Ultimate Wrench. What's
the
up?
Ultimate Wrench, yeah. Yeah, Venom, huge influence. There's no doubting that. Maiden, I think, spawned a million bands.
Mm-hmm. Same goes with Maiden. Most metal bands will say Maiden's either influenced them, or they like them, or they have some form of appreciation for them.
I did the Girls' School, but I'm a girl, you know.
And we did talk about Girls' School.
I know you did.
I hope you heard it, yeah. And I was really hoping you
Hit and Run is like one of my songs.
I mean, would you say, because we were saying they were probably the first metal all-girl band. I mean, they did have
the Runaways like preceded them, but
they were punky,
hard rock, I would say. Yeah, they were definitely punks like them. But they were a hard rock band, I would say. The Runaways.
I think. But Girls' School were influenced by the Runaways.
And we're saying it called Head Girl or something.
Well, that was when they did the Head Girl was when they teamed up with, wasn't that Motorhead?
Was that the Motorhead thing?
Yeah.
That was Head Girl. Okay.
So shaking all over or whatever.
Oh, I know.
Shaking so much. Yeah. Please don't touch. That was the hit. Shaking because I'm shaking because I'm shaking. Yeah, they did an EP together. They did St. Valentine's Day Massacre, and so they were very tight with Motorhead.
Motorhead had some good female, like if you want to talk about like female metal and stuff, the Plasmatics. Wendy O, he had that pair up with Wendy O. Williams for doing Stand By Your Man. That's the song they did.
I love that, yeah.
I will always have a resentment against that song as the reason Fast Eddie Clarke left the band.
That's right.
Yeah, because
yeah, but the Blues Brothers did it so awesome that one night in that country bar.
They should have had Motorhead in the Blues Brothers. That would have been good. I just wanted to say we had a poll. We have a poll, and I'm going to close the poll. If anyone hasn't voted, we've got 37 votes in it. Thank you for 4 bands that I picked to ask which of those bands has the most enduring legacy. And you can enduring legacy could be whatever you want. So I guess it comes down to your favorite of those bands. So if you haven't voted, you've got like 5 seconds left, and I'm going to end the poll.
Could you make the argument that Judas Priest was actually the precursor to the new wave of heavy metal?
Absolutely.
The first attack, basically.
I would say, for me, Priest and Motorhead were the godfathers and originators of it. Yeah.
British Steel and Motorhead. Yeah, shoot yeah.
Well,
Steel was 1980, so
I would say
they've been around 10 years before that.
And Motorhead are the vanguard of heavy metal.
Yeah.
Priest and Motorhead were the vanguard of the new wave of British heavy metal. 11 Alpha mentions UFO, one of my favorite bands, and we're going to do a whole show on them one day. They'd been around since '69, but the new wave of British heavy metal boosted bands like UFO because it got them back and then they toured with some of those bands, supporting them, whatever. And it just, the whole thing fed off itself and made metal and popular. So it made bands like UFO bigger, even if they weren't really a part of it. Mm-hmm. The metal scene and the metal fans loved all of those bands.
Yeah.
So the whole scene,
like Motorhead influenced so many different types of music too.
Oh, Motorhead were just like,
they're the best ever.
A lot of this wouldn't have happened without Motorhead, full stop.
Yeah.
Sabbath got a reboost with Dio joining. Rainbow were a huge influence. I was hugely into them. I had the denim jacket with the patches on the back.
Yeah,
the badges.
I have
I still have one.
a later version of Rainbow. The first page of my comic book at the bottom, the eyes are directly drawn from the cover of Straight Between the Eyes. The only thing missing is the guitar smashing through it. Love that band.
That's what you mean by a badge, a pin.
So I have ended the poll. And I shouldn't publish it because I'm very disappointed.
No,
So, coming in top with 54%, it probably isn't a surprise, is Iron Maiden. And it's true, they've probably strode the world like a colossus ever since.
Yeah.
Def Leppard came next at 29%. Venom 8%, which could have been a sneaky winner because their influence could be said to be the biggest of all of these.
Yeah.
Am I the only person that voted for Venom?
And then equal with Venom at 8% is my band, Saxon, my boys. I still think that they make the best original material of all those bands to this day.
And I would very much swap Leppard with them.
Yeah, I would too.
Well, you got to remember what you're looking at here, guys. You are introducing people to these bands, really,
True, yeah.
Brian. You know, a lot of the people watching this stream may not know these bands at all. They're going to know
Saxon and Venom. If you're not a metalhead, you're likely to have never heard of them.
Exactly. And you know, that's why I was inquiring earlier, is it when you define legacy, are you talking about hits, or are you talking about clout in the scene? If you're talking clout in the scene, Venom should be it, right?
If I said who was the most influential,
right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Clout in the scene. We're saying the same thing.
I deliberately made it as vague as I could.
Yeah. I picked Def Leppard because they had the biggest amount of hits.
I'm not an amateur at this shit, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. And please,
you're not a pro either.
I'm not a pro either. I'm somewhere in between. I'm semi-pro. I just wanted to ask everybody though as well to click the like button if you haven't done that already. All that good stuff. And if you're new to the show in the chat, please consider subscribing if you've enjoyed this, so we can keep doing these wonderful shows. Same over in Rumble. Hit the like button and all that good stuff. There's going to be some deep dives in some of this stuff. This is never the last time we're going to talk about this stuff, but it was a great era for me personally because I was like, what was I, 14 in 1977, heavily into rock. So this was right in my target zone, 77 to 82, 83. I was into all the metal bands, all the punk bands, and an enormous taste for music. And all this new stuff was coming out. You could go to a club and see bands. And so a lot of these bands left an enduring imprint on me.
Hi, Dustin.
So, hey, Dustin, we miss you, buddy. We miss you.
Yeah, man.
Get back on here. We miss you. And we miss Darius.
Subbed. Yay.
Miss Darius as well. So it was a great era for me. I think it was a great era for music. I think it's kind of saved metal because it brought it back to the street level, and then it could build up again. And then lots of great stuff followed. That's just my impression. I don't know what you guys think about this era.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I didn't really get into it till right around 1980. I was 15 then, and that's when I started getting it. I guess when you're just starting high school, that's when you really get into it, man. You know,
for me, it was elementary school.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, like 6th grade, I started listening to like Metallica and Guns N' Roses.
Yeah. Well, you know, Metallica was a popular band, though. I mean, they were all over the radio. They were. I mean, their best stuff probably was stuff that they didn't play on the radio for sure. But they had hits. They had a lot of them. You know. Yeah. But when this era right here, they not until MTV started that heavy metal half hour did people in the States really see this stuff. You know what I mean? And it was going on in England for a while. Well.
Yeah, we are going to have to wrap up in a minute because otherwise I'm probably going to explode.
It happens when you're older.
Hey, I've had a large coffee and a big glass of water, and this has been 2.5 hours. So I think I'm doing pretty well.
You do better than I do.
So let's talk about there's a whole host of modern bands and like traditional new wave traditional metal bands that probably harken back a lot to those bad guys. And we just want to talk about a couple of them. This is a band called Antioch, not to be confused with any other Antioch. There's like 8 bands. This is the Canadian one from Ontario. They've got a bunch of good albums out, and they're very much in that priest new wave of British heavy metal sound. So check those guys out.
I'm trying to figure out his t-shirt on the right.
Wasp, yeah.
Wasp, yeah. Imagine that.
Yeah, check those guys out. I think they've got like 7 albums out now, so it's.
I would also mention Riot City. They're only on album 2. They've only existed for. Oh, there we go.
And boom, first next
Also from
synchronicity, baby. Yep.
As if I knew you were going to say that.
Because these guys absolutely blew me away in 2019 when they came out with their first record, and I was afraid that due to when they came out that the unspecified virus of unknown origin would have got them, because it got a lot of bands. But these guys pulled through, and in 2022 they came out with this one, and this is even better.
And what's the track? Tyrant that's on this?
Yeah.
Tyrant, yeah.
Tyrant and
to check them out.
Ghost of Reality are the two.
I love the
amazing ones.
cyberpunk cheetah.
I
That's
think
cool.
they're Canadian as well, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a whole bunch of Canadian bands out now. They're fantastic.
What a bunch of hosers.
I'm still waiting.
good
on my
going.
Turkish
Over
Red
here
LP.
for donuts. Don't listen to him, man. He's a hoser.
I love that movie.
So Riot City, obviously Sabaton are hugely influenced.
I keep
by-
hearing about this band. I guess I'm gonna have to
Oh.
check them out eventually.
Yeah, you
I,
do too.
I saw them live last night.
Oh,
They-
shit.
I'm sorry.
Nice.
They
Nice,
put
huh?
they put Judas Priest to shame.
So it's
Oh,
Priest
man.
is out. You saw
Oh,
that
man.
gig, you lucky bastard.
Yeah.
At least a quarter of the audience, as soon as Sabotage was done, they left.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
I wouldn't have done
Yeah.
that.
They
Who
were-
else played?
Sabaton. It was just Sabaton and Judas Priest.
Oh, and Priest. Okay,
Because
gotcha.
I'm waiting for that tour to come out west. It's only east so far, but yeah. So you thought Sabaton were better?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I don't get me wrong. Priest is great, but I think it's time for them to hang it up.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I'll give them one
I mean-
last kick at the can with this tour. Yeah.
Yeah. Rob Halford's what, 72? I mean,
Yes.
He's my dad's age. It's crazy.
you can't tell he's 72 moving around on stage, but either that or he's doing a lot of cocaine or something.
I think Glenn. If we're talking Glenn Tipton, or are we?
No, Richie Faulkner.
Oh, Richie
yeah.
Faulkner. Sorry,
Yeah, it
'cause
wasn't a heart
Tipton's-
attack. He actually had an aortic aneurysm on stage during the solo for Painkiller.
That's how
And in one of
loud
the-
the music was. How
And in
metal?
one
Is,
of the best metal moments I've ever seen, finished the solo before walking off stage.
how metal is that?
Wow.
And the only reason he lived is the fact that he was like 2 minutes away from a hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They-
they even did. Sabaton even did "Careless Rex" in Swedish.
They do that almost every show. They'll ask, or they'll do at least one song off the album and ask the audience if they want to do it in English or Swedish.
Swedish. I'd like it in Swedish.
Yeah,
I'm
That's
sorry.
Almost always.
I'm
the
sorry.
case.
These metal covers are the coolest things
oh yeah.
Well, this
in
is
the world.
This is Accept's latest album. They're on tour too as well, and they're always been a band, albeit German, that have been closely associated with the British new wave of heavy metal and inspired by it, and very much a classic traditional metal band. And
Mhm.
I
all
love the little
better for it.
callback to Metal Heart right in the
Yes.
robot's chest there.
Right
Yeah,
there, yeah.
very cool.
So there, I'm hoping to see them this year as well. If it's got to be, they've all the stuff's been announced. It's east and mid. It has to come out west.
Yeah.
Of course-
I just saw Sabaton played in Reading, Pennsylvania. Who plays in Reading? That's so weird to me.
Well, who goes to Pennsylvania? Full stop.
Well, if they go to Philly,
Yes.
Philly, come on, but Philly's not really PA
Just-
in my
just
eyes.
kidding, Courtney, just kidding.
My favorite metal cover of all time, though, isn't even by a metal band. It's Meatloaf's "Bat Out of Hell." I think that is
Yeah.
one of the greatest covers
God, yes.
ever.
Pretty metal cover. Yeah.
It's pretty metal. Yeah, it is.
Epic. Epic, I would say. So that was a lovely show, guys. I mean, we scratched the surface. That's all we ever do here. Sometimes is scratch the surface. And I hope people out there in the chat liked some of the tracks we played and discussed. I'll probably have to cut 90% of that out, or the stream will be destroyed by YouTube. But what the hell? Rumble, the Rumble link, the Rumble stream will always be up there. But I hope you enjoyed it. The chat was great. Lots of great comments. A couple of new people. Thanks to you all for being here. Thanks to the mods, D-Bud and Davina. Thank you to the wonderful panel. I have my friends here who've made this show so great over the last 2 or 3 years. God, I think
Vince Womack was watching your back over there on Rumble too.
Cool. Yeah, I've been checking in. I just keep looking over there occasionally. Thanks, Vince, for taking care of all of that. Appreciate it, buddy. Pope, my friend, what have you got going on?
Well, sometime this week, I will be releasing the latest episode of Rock and Roll Religion I've done with Writing Raven, Master of the TDS's wife. Really, really great lady. We were covering Lord of the Lost. So if you guys are into goth rock or just kind of looking to get into that scene, we had a really great conversation on it. And then every Saturday night at 11 Eastern, you can catch me on Rumble for Midnight Mass, which is like my little 2-hour radio show where, I just play you either whatever's on my mind or a lot of stuff that we've covered during the week, whether it be on this show, Christian DeLorme's channel. I think we have a 38 special episode coming up.
Yep.
On Wednesday night, which should be a lot of fun. So expect a lot of, NWOBHM and Southern rock stuff to show up.
Cool.
I'm in that kind of mood.
I'll have to try and join you, or at least listen in live on Saturday after I've done the hockey show, which somewhat coincides.
That's the unfortunate part is when I scheduled it is right next to Bourbon and Boarding, which go Bruins. We kick the ass out of the Leaves. Every single one of you Canadians.
There you go.
I know. I cried so hard when the Leafs got put out yet again. And
Wah. Wah.
It's
That's
funny.
all I can say. Wah. It was awesome. It was epic.
It was funny.
What a pass. That's all I can say. What a pass.
Yeah. Thanks, Pope, for being here. Joe, my friend, what are you up to?
Oh man, you can go to my page and check out the I actually am putting a trailer with everything that's going on during the week on the page now. The first thing you see on there. So go check that out. But just to back up Pope, we're going to be on with Christian DeLorme over on Rumble at 8 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday, talking some Southern rock. The only band I've ever seen with my brother, and I've seen him twice with my brother. So nice. Looking forward to that.
I've seen them once. I saw them once. Yeah.
Oh man, you got to love a rock band with 2 drummers. It's awesome. Love it.
Cool. Nice. Imp, my friend, are you up to anything?
Actually tomorrow I'll be on Brahma Bull's channel with Gaming with Brahma. Not exactly entirely sure what the plan is, but we're doing something.
He's not
other than that,
Brahma's not going to be watching the Avs Stars game then?
he'll probably be watching it while we're gaming.
Right, because
it wouldn't be the first time, because one of the other guys that games with us, Smoky, is also a hockey fan, and he's watching while we're streaming. So
yeah, cool.
And I got a couple of reviews I'm working on, just a matter of time and timing with some certain things.
Cool. Well, look forward to that, mate. And hopefully tomorrow, Brahma will be crying so hard he won't be able to play the game properly.
Well, we'll see.
I was going to say gamers are great multitaskers. I do it all the time. I watch sports and play games all the time. Yeah.
Me too. Great. No, thanks for being here. Always appreciate it, brother.
Pleasure being here.
John, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks for making it, buddy. Appreciate it.
Well, I was going to point this out and tell everybody I got it in the pit, but no, I actually took a face plant. I misjudged a curb.
Damn it, song.
Ouch.
But
chicks dig scars. Don't worry.
Yeah,
they do. I thought maybe you'd headbutted somebody with your chin.
No, I the curb was taller than I thought, and my foot missed it, and I went and fell face first on the concrete. Led with my chin.
Well, hope you're okay, mate.
Oh, I'm fine. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
But
anything you want to plug?
Yeah, on Friday nights, over on Pop Culture Minefield, I have Game Night with John at 8:00 Central, and I am continuing the complete Telltale Walking Dead series. And once I finish that, I will be starting the super mod Tale of Two Wastelands for Fallout, which is basically takes Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas and merges them into a single game running on the New Vegas engine.
I want to know what you think of that for sure. Yeah.
So, I can tell you it's pretty fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
I can see me playing that. I can absolutely see me playing that. Yeah.
I played it a bit just to test my install because it's really a complicated install process. So, but yeah, I've got it flawless. So.
Nice. I'll look forward to watching you play a bit of that, mate, so I can see if I want to get into it. Cool, and thanks for being here, brother. And last but never least,
always last though.
The rock, our resident rock chick, the wonderful friend, our wonderful friend Courtney. Thank you for making it. Last, I really
thank you for having me. Yeah, it's hard on Mondays with my stuff, but anyway, I don't have a ton coming up. I have my usual. I'm here every Monday. I'm on Mark D with the C's channel and Sunday Night Geekery on Sunday nights. And other than that, I just have a bunch of cool shows that I'm going to go see, and then I think I'm going to stream about them and just kind of talk about music and stuff like that. So
look forward to that. Yeah, well,
I went to an awesome one. Saw the Casualties open for Strung Out, and that was really fun. That was a black sheep.
It's very appropriate double bill if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. I can't believe the Casualties opened up for them, but that was it was fun.
But yeah, I look forward to hearing about that. Then thank you for being here. I'm really pleased you can make it.
Thank you for having me, and thank you to Admiral Wackass, and I think someone else said they subbed to the channel. So
yes, thanks for everyone who subbed. Thanks for everyone who hit the like button, all that good stuff. Spread the word. As for me, there will be no show next Monday as a family visiting from the UK. So you've got a week off. Hopefully the week after we're doing Canon Film Club Captain America.
Wow. Cool.
That's the plan. That's the plan.
Yes.
I'll have a video I'm going to do tomorrow on a movie I saw at the weekend, a Korean movie called The Roundup Punishment, which is the fourth Roundup movie. I went to the cinema to see it, and it kicked ass, and I loved it deeply. And we're going to be making a video about that. There's nothing like seeing Ma Dong-suk, or Don Lee as he's known here, punching the fuck out of bad guys. There's nothing
Anyone
quite like it.
Dong,
Yeah, Dong, yeah. Ma Dong-suk's. I never get tired of Don Lee punching bad guys. I could watch like 20 hours of that.
That whole movie.
So no show next Monday. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to see an Irish punk band that you know probably, Brian, on Monday, Stiff Little Fingers.
Let me tell you, the loudest band I've ever seen in my life was Stiff Little Fingers.
Really?
It was so loud. It was so painfully loud. I had to leave and stand in the lobby of the club. It was actually hurting me. I was like, and this was at a time when I was going to a lot of guys. I was like, this is hurting me. It's so loud. But anyway.
I keep getting scared they're not going to have any more time because they're getting older.
So John, you were going to say something about the punishment roundup.
Oh yeah, if you haven't seen those the Roundup movies from Korea, they're probably some of the best action flicks that's been out in the last several years.
Oh, absolutely awesome! Yeah, I love them to death. Don Lee is a force of nature. He's brilliant, and they're funny too. Though they're not the actions. A ton of laughs in them. That's the fourth one they're on now. I hope they keep making them because the formula. They've got the formula. Physical bad guy that has to have the shit kicked out of in the last few scenes. A lot of brutal violence, a lot of fighting, but a lot of comedy too, and some comic characters for relief. Yeah. Great formula, and they're always in the top 3 or 4 earning Korean movies every year. Great movies, the Roundup movies. Check them out. So that's it. Show's over. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great week. Oh, and one more thing I want to plug. Bourbon and Boarding, Saturday night. Once you finish listening to Pope, you can come and join Bourbon and Boarding or vice versa.
And talk all about the Bruins in the chat. It drives them crazy.
Yeah. Well, you should join the show, Joe. I know you're an East Coast guy, but you should join the show.
Hey, man.
Keep trying to get Courtney on.
If I haven't had one too many, I had one too many before I started watching the other night.
So anyway, Bourbon and Boarding, Saturday night. Go Stars. Have a great week, everybody. And don't forget the most important thing, keep on rocking. And now we have the point where we never know if the stream has ended or not.
We're
and
still
still
live.
going out.
Yeah.
Find out.
Well,
It's the
I did something else besides the concert and